in the age of social media, homeopathic therapies have spread across the internet. There's been a lot of pushback against them, but should that be the case in a doctor's office? If a patient believes that homeopathic remedies could help, should a doctor attempt to convince them otherwise? Especially since that might push the patient away. Instead, if the proposed therapy is harmless, should the doctor simply recommend other medically sound treatment along with whatever the patient wants? Or should doctors be laser focused on spreading information that is scientifically backed? Okay, yeah. So this was inspired by me seeing something about was it Reiki? I believe it's pronounced. Like it's like a therapy where they like run their hands over you and like change your energy or something, right? But that actually being in hospitals, because it seems to have some sort of effect in terms of like at least people's mentality, right? So if these things again aren't necessarily harmless, right? Should we just is that okay, or should we be disabusing people of misinformation? So we'll do introductions, starting with Sig Natural.
Introductions into this topic. Like, I mean, I don't even know. It's crazy on the first one because I feel like I just have to take. It's just like just focus on the. I feel like doctors should just focus on what the science and everything like that, right? Like, should doctors be laser focused on spreading information that is scientifically backed? Absolutely. Okay. When it comes to being a doctor, that's pretty much what you just should do at all times. If someone really wants the homeopathic stuff, they can get it with or without their doctor, frankly. So I think doctors, to save their ass, should just recommend, shit that's safe. Makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to Dooby.
I generally agree. I think that it really depends on what it is. If it's just Reiki, or they want to hold crystals in their hands or some shit, I think it's fine for them to do that outside of a hospital. I don't think that should be inside of a hospital. But if they get to the point where they're like doing things that can negatively impact their recovery or their treatment, then the doctor should definitely tell them, hey, this is a bad thing to do. You shouldn't do this, and kind of go over why. Yeah, that's about it. I think that there's things that people can do to like help them with their like mental well-being, because that is a pretty big side to like recovery or to treat treatment for like a disease, like your mental well-being, the anxiety that you're feeling, the stress that you're under, all these things that impact how you're going to recover. Right. So if them, having feathers waved over them and holding crystals and shit for a couple hours a week helps them feel better about the situation, and that helps with the rest of their treatment, I think that can be a positive thing. But I just don't think it's something that a doctor should be pushing.
Okay. Skanky Opinions, thank you for the 2,000 bits. And again, why am I not seeing the Prime Banker emails spam for Skanky Opinions? They're helping out the channel. Spam those emails for them. Show them that we care and that we appreciate what they've done. Thank you so much. All right. Let's go with Counterpoints.
Yeah, so I actually think that there are some alternative treatments that should be considered. I mean, I'm pretty sure marijuana and CBD and all that kind of stuff was basically considered alternative medicine maybe a decade ago. I think it should be studied. Same thing with massage therapy. I'm somebody who suffers from back and neck issues and was basically told by surgeons that it's not serious enough to deal with. So I have found basically cranial sacral massage therapy very beneficial for my pain levels. So what I would say, kind of what was already echoed before, was that like if it gets in the way of actual treatment, obviously that's part of a treatment plan. But if physiologically you can assist somebody with maybe something that's not typically thought of as medicine, because normally like Western medicine is cut it or give it drugs. That's Western medicine. Very rarely is it like this like holistic view of the body. And while massage therapy obviously isn't going to cure cancer, if that can help people with their pain while they're dealing with cancer or while they're dealing with other issues, I actually think that should be incorporated. And the fundamental shift should be, I think that Western medicine has been very focused on like a algebraic formula. The patient has a problem, we're going to hit that problem. Patient has a new problem, we're going to hit that problem. And they just keep moving down the problems. Whereas if they took a more holistic approach to health in general, then that would probably be beneficial for everybody.
Okay. Let's go to Mike.
Yeah. If a patient comes to you and you're a doctor and says, hey, this is, what do you think of this homeopathic thing or whatever? And you just say you just have like GERD, insomnia, or like back pain or something like that. And they can tell you, yeah, I don't know if there's any real evidence to this, if that's what they think. But you're welcome to try it. The thing is, the prescription, like the treatment, has to match what your ailment is. So if you're Steve Jobs and you have pancreatic cancer and it's treatable, and you're trying to treat it with Reiki instead of surgery, then you're probably going to have some issues, and that's the doctor not doing enough to push that on the patient to save their life. But if it's something like back pain or GERD, and you say, hey, this alkaline water is really helping me, sure, drink that alkaline water then. Placebo is still a placebo, so if it works, it works. I just don't think doctors should be pushing it, but I don't think they should be pushing back as hard if it seems like it's not going to be something that really does any effect, except for, it's just going to hit their wallet. It's going to, it's just like any other snake oil.
Okay. Don't worry, guys. I've got other ways to take this topic. Plenty of ways to take this topic. But Sprouticus.
So the idea that I have is that the doctors should do what is scientifically backed, but understanding, on the other hand, that science is not above being questioned, and doctors would be in the position to question the science. So if a doctor has a better solution, medically, that they think would be able to fix the issue better, then the doctor should be able to push that. But the doctor should be concerned about the patient, not concerned about lining their pockets, not concerned about what happens to their practice, right? They should be concerned about the patient and getting the patient better. For doctors, the patient should be the number one concern, and whatever they believe the patient needs to continue moving forward, I believe the doctor should push whatever they believe that is. And if the patient believes the doctor is incorrect in their in their investigation or in their suggestion, then they can always feel free to go to a different doctor and get a second opinion.
Falinor.
I actively support homeopathy. I think it's a fantastic way of dealing with a major majority of issues. I do not believe that hashtag pilling it is the best way of dealing with most problems. I think that one of the biggest issues that we have, and scientifically it's been validated, is that we take pills for literally everything and anything. And the issue is we don't let natural processes take its course. But when you look at it from a practical perspective, every time you get cut, you don't rub Neosporin and peroxide into every single cut you have. Most injuries, people allow to naturally heal over time, whether it's the body naturally regenerating itself and restoring itself and rebuilding broken or damaged cells through bodybuilding, for instance, or through cuts or abrasions on their bodies, or through bruising, for instance. We allow natural processes to take its course. For immunity, for instance, the overwhelming majority of immune responses to viral and bacterial contaminants that our bodies come in contact with, natural process takes care of that. Very, very rarely do we actually use antibodies or vaccines as a translated cure for those issues, or alleviation, I guess is a good word to use. I would say there's like 500 mainstream vaccines globally, but there's trillions of viruses that exist in the world and bacterias. We only vaccine for like 500 of them. Natural immunity takes care of the rest. So homeopathy has a huge place in society, whether it's massage therapy or just stimulation through something like natural vitamin intake through micronutrients. The overwhelming majority of issues that we run into as human beings are taken care of through those processes, and they're natural in nature. I also openly support Eastern and Western medicine in tandem. I think the best practice of medicine is the combination of all known forms of medicine and applying what's the best treatment, not what's the best thing to line your pockets.
Okay. We'll be back to you, Falinor, soon enough. Let's go to Biggs.
Yeah, so on the first part of this topic, I think that the doctor's main concern should be trying to find the best path of either correction of whatever ailment you have or relief for whatever ailment you have. I also think that they should be focusing on proven methods, but I also think that when we have homeopathic medicines that are not harmful, but may have some either psychological benefit or, like Felinor said, some actual benefit. I think that chiropractors definitely provide a benefit to people. I think that there are some other things that we see. I know the ones I know a lot of like Olympic athletes do the toxins removal through like the cupping, things like that. So I do think that there are some cases
The
where
cupping? Sorry.
so where they do the suction cups on the people's like backs usually.
Oh, I thought it was
Things
something
like
completely
that.
different. Okay, never mind.
No,
Okay,
no,
cool,
no, no,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, you'll see it a lot on a lot of athletes. They'll have like the big circles on their back and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different types of things. So I think that as a doctor, you should be focusing on things that you know are proven, but also if there are things that are not harmful, that's fine to say, hey, you can go take these paths as well. Where I think the bigger issue is when people like I forgot who brought it up. I don't know if it was Mike or Mike brought it up, but they brought up the Steve Jobs thing with the pancreatic cancer. I think there are cases where people get in their head that there are things that can solve the issues, but in reality, they're so beyond that. Even if it was effective, it's not going to be effective enough to actually save their lives. And I think that's where doctors kind of need to draw the line. And when you have somebody actively taking steps that are harming them, that's when doctors kind of need to step in and say, "Hey, we need to make a new path, a new plan for you to get better." So I think that's where doctors need to step in. But I do think that there are some things that can be benefit, like chiropractic, acupuncture can even be beneficial. But I think overall, doctors should focus on what they know and focus on improving the people's lives. But give them some leeway too. I think it's the personal decision if they want to try some things, as long as it's not actively harming them. Let them do it.
Okay. Our friend GSU Gambit has gotten here. We're so happy to have you. Thanks for stopping by, friend. One, you can introduce yourself, and then two, the topic.
Yeah, I am GSU Gambit. I think most people know me, so that's my introduction. But on to this. It's actually hilarious because I was laughing the entire time I was reading this because growing up, my grandmother would always tell us for almost everything to just take castor oil. And it was some of the worst advice, but it worked for everything. I don't remember a time where it didn't work. I don't prescribe this, people. It's silly, but it was just hilarious how, they used to give us castor oil and it solved a lot of stuff and it was hilarious. But being a little bit more, hey, go back downstairs. Being a little bit more serious, I'm a big fan of like fasting, water fasting for multiple days, sometimes even a month. It's been proven that it will bring your kids upstairs, but it will people that have problems with I forget which type of diabetes. One of them is like your insulin is just gone. The other one is like seems like it's related to the food, I think too. But it's been shown to fix in some cases that high blood pressure, a ton of other things. So there are certain things that I would recommend that aren't mainline going to be recommended by a doctor, but most times I try to stay in lockstep with whatever the doctors are prescribing. But there are certain situations where I think, and I can't remember who was saying this earlier. I think it was Counterpoints or either Sproticus, but I feel like we get tied into trying to fix a certain problem and not looking at the grander narrative. And there are some things that just changing your lifestyle can fix, and prescribing medicine may or may not be the best for certain things. I feel like it's like a lifelong subscription at that point. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get into it in the open.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. So
Don't be fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is open to everyone.
All right.
Go ahead. You go first.
Let me go ahead and kick this off with GSU Gambit, baby. Like, me and you are so on the same page when it comes to water fasting. There are so many studies that have been published by so many doctors about the health benefits of water fasting. It's insane that people don't actively practice it. Most people don't even realize that
Could you explain what that
body...
is? Could you explain what that is?
Sure. So water fasting is the process of a type of fasting that specializes in focusing on the ingestion of only water, typically for a period of time between 4 and 15 days. Now, there are some people who have done it for 30 days. I do not recommend that. It is not safe.
I have.
It has incredible health effects, and it also helps with the dramatic loss of weight. But I would prefer intermittent fasting practices with water fasting in lieu of that for health reasons. But to each their own, consult your doctor. I absolutely agree. Most people don't even realize that 80% of the human body's energy taken in is actually spent consuming food. It's actually horrifying when you think about it from an efficiency perspective. That most of your natural processes, including regenerative processes and restorative processes for the human body, don't even start until 96 hours after no intake of food.
Yep.
To put it into a practical perspective, I used to be 226 pounds a month ago, and I've dropped down to 205 pounds, and I've added 10 pounds of muscle, and I can now lift 700 pounds with my legs. And I just maxed out the chest press machine at 250.
There is like
diet and exercise has incredible effects.
There's like some types of people.
Wait, hold on 1 second, 1 second. Just so we can give people things to look up. The process that Fallon is referencing is called, it's actually pronounced two different ways. It's either called autophagy or autophagy, and I hate the second way. Don't ever say that. But it's autophagy. But yeah,
it
some
means
doctors,
self-eating.
yeah, but some doctors say autophagy, and it's like it throws me off and it's weird because that's absolutely not it. But medical professionals pronounce it that way, so I try to just let people know it could be either or. But that process, like Fallon says, only starts after you've gone without eating for a certain period of time. This process is where your body heals cells that need to be repaired. This process absolutely does not happen if you're always ingesting food. So there's a plethora of scientific literature around it. If you want to read up.
One point that I would add that GSU that you did not cover is the body does not quote unquote destroy those cells. What it does is it takes those cells, those incomplete proteins, and actually breaks them back down and then uses them. So don't misconstrue that for the body's just discarding those cells. It's actually rebuilding them by
I said repair
elsewhere.
Yeah, I said
no.
Okay. Before we get into this, you guys are going down like a rabbit hole of like pushing some weird like foo-foo nonsense. I just want to ask you a question, Fellonar.
Mm-hmm.
So you said earlier that like you support and advocate for homeopathic medicine.
Yeah.
So do you disagree with the rest of us where we said, hey, if this isn't getting in the way of treatment from like actual doctors at hospitals, right, we're okay with it. But the moment that it starts to counter that treatment or get in the way of that treatment or replaces that treatment, it should not be advocated for or allowed.
Well, what I
I'll
go ahead and answer that. What I specifically said is I believe in the practice of both standard Western and Eastern medicine, up to and including the use of surgery. I mean, if you got a gunshot wound, I wouldn't recommend drinking water. I would recommend getting stitches, getting the bullet removed first, and then getting the stitches.
Okay, but here's what concerns me though, because the way that you worded that earlier, and the way you've been talking about some of this other shit, it reminds me of like the kind of thinking that led to like Steve Jobs dying, for example. If you want to go to like a real famous case where he had pancreatic cancer, he thought his body could heal itself with if he just got on the right diet, did some juice fasting, did fucking Reiki or whatever.
No, I thought
so he went the homeopathic medicine route, ignored the advice from his doctors, and he died. So you would say that would be a bad thing to do. That if you have cancer, you should definitely go to the hospital and do what the doctors say. Right?
He should have gone and gotten chemo. He had cancer. He should have gotten chemo. So here's one of the things. The differences. You're not fucking Wolverine.
Such a simplification.
Yeah, you're not. No. It's a great example. You're not Wolverine unless your regenerative rate exceeds that of the destruction rate. Homeopathy will not help you. You need to stop the thing that is literally disintegrating you from the inside. And he should have gotten the chemo because then he could have leveraged the chemo combined with homeopathy to successfully recover, which is what his doctors were recommending, was leveraging chemotherapy and then allowing his body to naturally recover over time after the cancer was dead.
So let's be clear. Pancreatic cancer is not something where chemotherapy is a guarantee. I have an uncle that passed after doing chemo from pancreatic cancer, and it also is not.
It is one of the most deadly.
It is. And I'm not saying
there's certain kinds though. His was very treatable.
So let's go to.
But people,
we don't know what
I want to go.
People should not be forced.
I want to go to Sig. He's been having his hand up, and then we'll go to Sprout and Mike. All right.
Ask Fallenor a question. I just want to ask. What do you think homeopathic medicine helps with?
Homeopathic medicine, for my definition, is a leveraging of natural processes to naturally heal the body.
Like, what does it help with?
Homeopathy, it helps
Yeah.
with, well, typically it helps the restoration of damaged or destroyed cells or components of your body. But you're not a fucking starfish. You're not going to regrow an arm because of homeopathy.
But you do think that it would. So, like, by your definition, you do believe that it would at least help, not cure, but help stuff like cancer.
No, what I'm saying
No.
is, say, for instance, you got chemotherapy, and the chemotherapy killed the cancer cells. Homeopathy combined with chemotherapy, your body would naturally recover over time.
So
the
it would
cancer
help.
would be eradicated. Yeah, homeopathy would
Okay,
help
so-
you after the components that are killing you have been destroyed, and then your body will naturally recover. That's the leveraging of natural processes such as cell replication, stem cell processes, and procedures for replacement of cells that have been either diminished in population or completely wiped out. So say, for instance, to help us from a perspective of you're getting injections. So the first injection is your standard series treatment of chemo, followed up by a standard series treatment of injection of stem cells, which would then naturally replace the cells that have been lost.
Where does homeopathic
ask,
stuff like fall under that? Like, where does that come
The
in?
homeopathic process would be the leveraging of the stem cells, where your stem cells and the natural processes and order of stem cells would then replace your old cells.
The stem cell treatment falls under homeopathy. For you.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because the stem cell is a natural occurring cell within the human body. So every human being is born with a large amount of stem cells, and over time, you diminish that population of stem cells, and your body obviously starts to decay with age. And
I mean,
obviously,
if stem cell treatment falls under homeopathy, then I'm all for homeopathic medicine. Then I mean, if that's that's the case.
So first off, there's people that can't do a water fast for very long, at least, such as myself. I would get an extremely high metabolism as is. A water fast would make me look like a starving, like I haven't eaten in 2 weeks or a month, and you could see my full rib cage. It wouldn't be healthy for me. But at the same time, if someone does not agree with the doctors and wants to go with homeopathy to fix what they wanted to fix, such as Steve Jobs, I don't think Steve Jobs should have been forced to do what his doctor suggested. I don't think anyone should be forced to do what their doctors suggest. I think
Nobody's saying that.
And I'm trying to see if anyone disagrees with me. So I'm glad you don't. But there might be other people on this panel that do. So I don't know if anyone agrees that homeopathy.
I don't
should
think it'd be a good idea to like tie him down and force him to go through chemo, right? Like if he doesn't want to do it, if he wants to die, let him die. Like it's fine.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, I agree with him. I don't think anyone should be forced to take a treatment they're not willing to.
Route.
Okay, that's just funny because everyone seems to be wanting to force everyone else to take the vaccine.
I knew
No,
it.
We all just agreed that we all just agreed that we shouldn't be forced to have a medical treatment done.
Sprout, I didn't agree. Sprout, I didn't agree.
I didn't agree. Medical treatment forced upon us.
Prime is the only person that would agree with that.
That's not. Oh my god. Anyway, whatever.
Okay.
Prime is the only libertarian on the panel.
You absolutely would not.
Wait, hold on. Wait. So
Yes, I'm right here. I'm right here.
So I'd agree with forcing people to take the vaccine, right? But the reason for that is because this cancer isn't like contagious, right? He's not going to go around giving other people cancer, right? But if you're not vaccinated, you can go around giving other people COVID and kill them.
Yeah,
So
but
I don't believe I specified cancer.
Yeah.
I don't believe I specified cancer.
Wait,
what I
but that's
said
what
was
we're talking about. You asked.
What I said who wants to go the homeopathic route and does not want the Western medicine, that they shouldn't be forced to. What I got from a bunch of people was, we shouldn't tie someone down and make them get a medical treatment. But then when I mentioned vaccines. And all of a sudden, everyone's opinion flips. It's almost like you don't have an opinion on it. You just have an opinion on it until
it's almost like
otherwise.
One of these things is contagious and affects other people. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Same page with Sprout here. Yeah, I agree with Sprout.
No, let's be clear though. The only people that changed were Sig and Dooby. Everyone else stayed the same. It's not everyone flipped.
Change.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wait,
you-
I didn't
GSU.
change shit. What are you talking about?
I never initially agreed with the point. What are you talking about? I kept
Oh,
my
okay.
mouth shut.
Gotcha,
I was
gotcha.
like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to say
Gotcha.
anything."
Well, it's only Dooby that changed. Okay.
Yeah,
It was
and
obvious.
Wait, hold
Who's
on.
gonna-
Don't say that I
point to that.
changed my opinion. Right? I was talking specifically about cancer, right? And I laid out the reasons this is different. I don't think you'd agree. Disagree, right? So cancer's not contagious. COVID is. Other things that people get vaccinated for are fucking contagious. So yeah, given that we live in a society where your
But you're
behaviors,
contagious with the vaccine.
your fucking contagious disease that you might be infected with can affect other people and murder them, right? Can kill them. Yeah, you should be forced to
All
go
of
through
those
vaccination. I'm sorry.
All
I'm
of those-
sorry that's so
Wait,
complicated.
wait. This is why. No. Wait. Hold on. Hang on. This is why everybody that has this opinion is stupid. The viral load is the same if you're vaccinated, so you have to prescribe the same thing to people who even have the vaccine. But a lot of y'all don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about on Twitch, so y'all just say stupid
Yeah,
shit.
but
But
that's
yes.
the thing. Like, you can still be contagious even if you've gotten the vaccine.
Yes, even if you got the Delta, period. If you have the Delta variant, the viral load inside of your body is the same as that of a person that's unvaccinated. You can pass the vaccine.
Are the symptoms as bad?
Yes.
There's no research
Yeah,
that suggests
so-
that it's not.
Yeah, so
and,
it is-
and you're
That's
less
total
likely to
bullshit.
get it.
what are you talking
You're
about?
less likely to get the virus.
Most of the people who are dying now are unvaccinated people. That's
not true.
Yes,
So-
it
so
is.
the majority
Yeah, that's total
But hang on, hang on.
Can I
I
talk?
just had this argument with Mark
Because
Shepard.
I'm in straw man. Hold on, can I talk? That's not in
Yeah.
contention with what I said at all, Prime. At all, in any
Hold
way.
on. Is dying not a symptom? Like, I mean, like I died. Oh, that might be a
Okay,
symptom
can
that you
I
had
explain-
the
can I ex-
virus. Okay.
All right, before you continue to yell, can I explain why your line of reasoning is flawed?
No, hold on. But
Right.
before you go on, right? Like we can see people with more severe symptoms, right? They're literally in the hospital. They literally cannot breathe. That's a severe symptom, correct?
Are non-vaccinated people dying at a higher rate? Absolutely. I never said anything to the contrary.
Okay, great. So,
Okay.
so that also, you're saying the symptoms. You're saying there's no evidence that the symptoms are different.
We're talking specifically with the Delta variant, not with previous strains, right?
I'm talking about both.
I'm assuming.
Hold on, we're talking all of them. Are you saying previous?
There was
I'm
like
talking-
a
saying there's a
I'm
difference.
talking-
I
there was
don't
like
know.
a
I don't know
brief
what you're
month.
talking
There was like a
Let me jump in here.
Wait,
Let me jump in here.
there was a
hey, there's like 30 people talking. All right, listen.
Yeah.
All right, the Delta variant is like most new cases in America are the Delta variant. You can look at all of the scientific literature and it suggests that. So when I'm not talking about previous strains and previous data related to those strains. I'm talking about the outcomes that seem to be happening with the Delta variant.
But I am.
Okay.
And that's the issue. Is when you look at the just recently published data, this came out like 3 days ago. The recently published
It
data
hasn't
shows
come out
the
yet.
average it has, because they published it. I've got the data, I can send it to you if you want it. The issue is, a perfect example is Israel. They have the highest recorded vaccination rate in the world. They have such a high rate, it's exceeded 100%. And the issue is
I have that study.
the last data set released by the Israeli Ministry of Health, they reported that 85%, upwards of 85% of all people hospitalized for COVID with severe symptoms or critical state symptoms in patients have been COVID vaccinated.
Yeah,
So
because they
well,
have
no,
most of
it's
the
not
population,
not the Delta
but they have
variant.
most of the population vaccinated.
Hold on, before you do
Wait.
that, Fallen Order, can you
There's
post
a-
that? Can
there's
you just
some-
post that? Can you just post that?
Yeah.
There's some
Maybe it's a little bit
misinformation
about
being
that.
said.
Yeah.
Father,
That's
I
not-
have that study. It
all I
doesn't
want.
say that.
Okay,
No,
you
wait,
have the study. GSU, you have the study. Can you
Yes,
post the
I
study?
do have it. I have the one that he's referencing for sure. It's in my Discord. We talk about COVID like almost every day. I can post that. It doesn't say
Please
that.
do.
At
But
all.
please, I don't even want. I just want to read it. Okay.
Gotcha.
We're not even talking about fuck. Why are we talking about COVID? Can we talk about homeopathic shit? Most of us agree on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
No, hold on.
No.
No, I think it's important to talk about the COVID thing if he's gonna be spreading misinformation.
Yeah,
Like, this is
that's true.
actually
You're
dangerous
less
what you're doing.
likely to get COVID
Yeah.
if you're vaccinated. So this is
It's-
fucking
no, it's not at
retarded
all.
anyways.
You're not entirely less likely to get COVID. You're
You're
less
not.
likely to have you're less likely to have
Well,
symptoms, and you
Wait.
don't.
Y'all should. If we're gonna talk COVID, we should be truthful. Yes, if you get the vaccine, you're far less likely to get COVID. All scientific data
That's
suggests
a big
that.
deal.
Anyone saying anything to the contrary is spreading misinformation. Period.
Not the Delta variant.
Period. The end.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It-
The Delta variant
No,
too.
not the Delta
All
variant.
scientific data that is
Not the
available
Delta variant.
points to the vaccine having an efficacy
Does it
above
take-
that of an unvaccinated person.
Does it
There
does it
is
take
no
does,
research.
talk
does
about
it take it does it take account of the testing bias? Take it
The
down for the
flu-
testing
on.
bias.
The flu thing, yes.
We got it.
Yes.
We,
The
and-
testing bias. Do you know what the testing bias is, GSU?
Testing. What are you saying?
just get
testing
to it.
people
Get
that
to
are-
it. Just get to
So
it.
the
Yeah.
the testing bias is the bias against this research that would say that people who don't experience symptoms or experience very few symptoms aren't going to go get tested for COVID.
course
Instead, they're just going to live their lives as normal because they're not
Of
aware
course.
they have it. So there's a natural testing bias against this data,
Of
and these
course.
researchers don't account for the testing bias in any research I've
What do
done.
you think that doesn't account for? What?
Imagine
this
the
is what-
level of
this is
pride
what-
of just looking
this is-
at research like this, and it's like these
Yeah.
researchers haven't accounted for this. I'm
These
sure.
Yeah,
status-
hold on, wait.
These-
Hold on.
hold on.
I mean,
What I've read, they have-
statis-
what I've read.
these statisticians, they haven't thought of that. Oh wow, yeah, I got that. Like me and my statistics 101 class, like I've got it. But these world class statisticians have not considered any of this. Are you serious?
Well, then they
What-
didn't
can we
write it
actually-
down. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen
I
it
want-
stated that they accounted
Spro-
for testing bias.
Spark, I want to ask you a more
I've actually-
specific.
hang on.
Wait. Yeah, oh my God, y'all are finna waste time. I want to get at. Okay, so it's true for all diseases that if a significant portion of the population will either not have severe symptoms or appear to be like unaffected by it, that those people aren't going to be a part of the data set that's tested. My question for you is, what do you think this sampling bias is hiding? What truth do you think there really is that's being hidden because this segment of the population is not being accounted for? That's my question.
I think these vaccines aren't extremely effective against the Delta variant. I think what these vaccines do is they take the symptoms that you have for COVID and they minimize them to neutralize them.
That sounds like
and
it's pretty
the
effective.
idea that they're neutralized, it doesn't. I don't think it stops people. I don't think it stops people from getting Delta variant. I don't think it stops people from transmitting Delta variant. It stops people from experiencing the symptoms as harsh to at all. And so they're not going to go get tested to see if they have COVID. They're not gonna look into it at all. They're just gonna keep living their lives, and then it continues going from there.
So wait, you think the vaccine fights COVID, and then those people don't become a part of the data set because they had least effects? What's the damage that's doing though? You're basically saying you think the vaccine is good, right? What are you saying?
So I think the vaccine does minimize to neutralize symptoms. I do not think it at a high effectiveness stops people from getting the Delta variant or stops people from transmitting the Delta variant. I think it minimizes to neutralizes the symptoms.
Okay, but what kills people after they get COVID, the Delta variant or not? The symptoms, right?
The symptoms.
So
yes.
if you don't want people to die, they should probably get this vaccine. So if they do get it, right, the symptoms aren't as bad and they don't fucking die. Like this isn't that difficult.
Yeah,
I don't know why you're being so weird about this.
My thought process, and anytime I've talked about COVID, I've always stated go consult with your doctor and go talk to your doctor about it and see what you need to do. I talked to my doctor, and me and my doctor came to the same conclusion that I should probably wait till it's fully authorized by the FDA.
No, wait.
What a fucking liar, dude.
Wait.
I'm not a liar. I've talked to my doctor.
He has certain conditions that
Yes,
means
I
that
have.
he should wait.
I have
right?
no.
I think I'm gonna go.
We're not going to argue his personally.
There
We're
is
not
no
going to sit
fucking
here.
way.
We're not about to argue his personal health history. Like that's stupid, Mike. Like what are you doing?
I want your
That doesn't make
medical
sense.
I
right,
literally
fucking that.
worked with immunologists at fucking the University
This
of
guy-
Minnesota, epidemiologists.
You're saying
and
that
the
there
Mayo
isn't.
Clinic. There is no way they would not
Why?
recommend this to everybody.
I would disagree with that, Mike. And
This
I
is
helped
so
over-
stupid.
Hang on. No. So I'll
There's
rebut
not a
Mike on that one.
demographic of people that
Yeah,
could be.
hang on.
It
So
could
I'll-
be adverse risk. Like what?
Okay,
are you
hold on.
saying?
I-
GSU, we're not
no,
making that
no.
argument.
I will take on Mike on that one.
GSU, we're not
He said
actually
there's
making.
nobody. He said there's nobody they wouldn't recommend getting the vaccine. He just said that. Nobody.
there
He
would-
said
I don't-
totality.
Wait,
Yeah,
hold
he
on,
said-
hold on.
yes,
Can I ask
he
you a
said
question?
that.
Okay.
Really
One
quick
at a
question.
time. One at a time.
Right. So here's my issue with that, Mike. I actually worked on the project with Argonne to build the supercomputers that were used with the Aurora project, and the supercomputers that were used to compile all the data for the
Not
CDC
again.
and the WHO, as well as the 9H and
It's
several
always-
European partners.
Why is it every story with you sounds like such bullshit?
You can literally Google my name with Argonne, and my contractor ID will pull up.
What's
Like
your full name?
Don't. There's no reason to.
I'm gonna Google it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the
Okay.
link. But I'll
All right,
send you the Argon.
send me your full name. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll send you the Argon link. So here's the thing. They've openly said on the meetings that I've sat in on, it depends on what your doctor recommends. There are 5 major risk categories that we calculated and we tracked. 3 of them have like a 99% chance of nothing really critically negative happening to you. But 2 categories have an extremely high likelihood of you dying. They're 20+%. One of them was 25, 20, it was 71, so it's what is it? We'll say 28% likely of dying. And then the other one was like 50% plus. And that one was like extreme pre-existing medical conditions. Sprout may fall into one of those categories. They were like cardiovascular, vascular, etc., immune compromised. And then you have people that were like 50 plus. That was in the 28% category. And so in those 2 categories, I openly recommend they get vaccinated because that's like a 1 in 4 chance of you dying, or better. And then the other ones, you have a statistical extreme non-likelihood of dying. And for those people, I openly recommend consulting with your doctor. And in all cases, honestly, I openly recommend you consulting with your doctor.
Wait, but even if they have a lower chance of dying, well, why wouldn't they still get vaccinated
Because
to prevent spreading this contagious disease? Yeah, exactly. So
because you're still contagious, even if you get
I understand, but you're less contagious if your symptoms aren't as hard, right? So it minimizes the risk that they're gonna spread this disease to people that might die.
And that's been known since the very beginning.
Wait, of course, yeah, you can still get it, right? You can still get it, but you're much less likely to you can still get it, but you're much less likely to get it in the first place. And if you do get it, you're much less contagious if you have the vaccine.
Having the vaccine does not prevent you from getting it and making you contagious. You can
brought
still
up vaccines first. Who was the person that brought up the vaccines initially? Raise your hand.
Sprout.
It was Sprout.
Y'all
Cool. Got it, Sprout.
Y'all think the vaccine
worst thing
doesn't
you've done.
reduce you getting the virus? What? Who are y'all? Why
Okay,
are
so
you allowed to talk?
So let's bring it
What is
in.
this?
And I gotta say something. I gotta say something about bringing up. Hold on, you bring up Israel. Israel has had the most successful vaccination campaign in the world, right? Correct.
So what
That's why
Israel did
it's
was
damning.
Israel made
So
them
no,
the
that's not
vaccine
why it's damning. Because we know there's still breakthrough cases, correct? So some people are still going to be hospitalized, right? And so it would make sense in a place with the most amount of vaccinated people that you'd have the most amount of breakthrough cases, right? If you're just looking at percentages.
Well, the percentages range. So people who don't know, the vaccines efficacy rates range right now between multiple vendors published data and multiple governmental institutions published data between 50 and 64%. That's the efficacy rate of the vaccines currently reported. Unless
Which ones?
Past 5 days.
Are you talking about AstraZeneca?
They all fall within that category.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Well,
50,
you've
64.
made so many claims. You've made so many claims today. I just need you to source every fucking sentence you say.
There's no
that I actually don't believe that your hair is even blue and green. I don't fucking believe that for a second. That shit's fake. Okay, like I know every single thing you said. I just don't believe it.
Yeah,
by the data.
Yeah,
you just tell me where you want to drop it.
Everywhere.
All right, yeah, everywhere, man. This is amazing knowledge.
You can drop it in StreamYard. You can drop it in the DMs. You can drop it in Prime's chat.
I'll drop it in VC chat. Does that work for you guys? VC chat. I'll just start compiling stuff.
That's fine. Yeah, please.
All right, cool.
We need all the sources. Thank you, all of them. just
Connor, I know you're over there painting your dolls, but what do you think about this?
Oh man. Listen, when it comes to holistic shit, I think that should be used in homeopathic shit. That should be used in conjunction with the doctors. The things that I advocate for most, for instance, sports medicine is being used in the military right now. They're teaching Marines how to do yoga and meditation and how to do cupping in order to basically break up areas of inflammation. I actually had a buddy who they did, I think it's a Chinese medicine trick for cupping. And so they actually did cupping and also massage therapy and some chiropractic, but obviously you need to, chiropractic can be a little dicey sometimes. When it comes to COVID, I understand, I don't want the government to have the ability to force people to be injected because I think that's just way too much goddamn power to be centralized. That being said, I think the information is pretty clear. So unless Hillary Clinton and all the elites in the Bilderberg group have some kind of COVID manipulative thing that it's all going to kill us 15 years from now in order to save the environment or some fucking nefarious James Bond bullshit, I'm pretty sure you need to get fucking vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, very mild symptoms. My wife was vaccinated, very mild symptoms. If my kid could have been vaccinated, he probably would have been vaccinated by now. And the reason why is because one, based off of all the available information, it significantly reduces symptoms. Two, I know two different kinds of people. I know people who caught COVID and it was fucking nothing. And then I know people who caught COVID, and I actually have a cousin-in-law right now who's on life support, and he's 29 years old and he's slightly overweight. That's his only pre-existing condition, is he's slightly overweight. And pretty sure when he comes back, he's actually going to have, like, if he comes back, number one, because he only has about a 40% chance of surviving. But if he comes back, he's probably going to have permanent organ damage, meaning that his heart isn't going to work the way that it's supposed to. His lungs aren't going to work the way that they're supposed to. And as a result, he's probably going to be disabled for the rest of his life. He previously worked in construction. He has 2 kids. I think they're both under the age of 5, and he has a wife who doesn't work. So basically, the reason why I'm not engaging in this conversation is because I'm a little bit more Darwinian than everybody. I think if you're fucking too stupid to get the vaccine, then, go fuck yourself. But at the same time, like, basically what's going on is this is affecting real people. And the reason why I'm frustrated with, like, the right wing kind of, like, doing the just asking questions when it comes to the COVID vaccine thing is, goddamn well, if Donald Trump was still in the fucking office right now, fucking the COVID vaccine would be the best thing since fucking sliced bread. It would be an achievement comparable to landing on the fucking moon. But because it's administered during the Biden presidency, we have to just ask questions, and that's really fucking frustrating for me.
Okay,
as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, last point, because I know I'm being fussy, I'm pretty sure that, like, up until the, like, election when it was decided for Biden, Trump was still touting the vaccine as one of his greatest achievements.
Operation Warp Speed, yeah. It's great.
Okay, counterpoints. Even if Trump was president right now, I still wouldn't have the vaccine right now.
Okay,
this is where Connor and
asking questions.
This is one of those places where Connor and I diverge, because I would support tying you to a bed and injecting the vaccine, 100%.
Okay, against my doctor's will.
I find it very difficult to believe that your doctor said
if you
have some disease, right, that prevents you from getting the vaccine, makes it unsafe for you. Sure, maybe, but I think you should still be quarantined, because you walking around is at risk to everybody you interact with.
Can I also want to point this out, because hold on, so this is very important. I don't know. I can't even think of a situation in which getting the vaccine would not be recommended by a doctor. My wife, or not my wife. Hold on. You can answer the question in a second. My mother literally has fucking blood cancer, and because of chemo, she has almost no immune system. They still were confident enough in order to give her the fucking vaccine, despite not having that strong of an immune system. And I think the primary concern would be, like, almost like a breakthrough infection, or the symptoms would be so severe. She still got the fucking vaccine. She's 65 years old, and sometimes she can barely walk, and she's strong enough to get the fucking vaccine and survive. So what are the conditions in which the vaccine is not recommended?
The vaccine can work in certain medical conditions. Do you understand
which
that?
ones?
Yeah.
Heart conditions, cardiovascular issues, vascular issues.
Compared to COVID? Hold the fuck up, because this is important. So like, what I just heard was COVID could reduce, heart conditions. This is true, right? Because COVID vaccines or whatever.
Wait,
hold on. GSU, hold on. Please.
No, this is so simple. Let him finish. Connor, go. GSU, you can talk. Oh my God, Connor. Go.
I will get there, GSU. Okay, and I know what you're talking about, because basically with the vaccine,
no, you don't.
You don't. Yes, motherfucker, I do. God damn it, I have eyeballs that I read.
Asked the question, and you said, "I know what you're talking about." You asked the question, "Who should get vaccinated?" It's the fucking CDC. You don't need to go to the CDC website. Stop being a dumb fuck. If you get vaccinated, go to the CDC site.
You're gonna agree. Shut the fuck up. God damn it. No, I'm not. Shut the fuck up.
Okay, all right, knock it off. Just Connor, finish your point.
Okay, so with the fucking vaccine, there's been some people who have had the fucking vaccine that's shown some level of fucking heart inflammation and fucking white blood cell fucking activation after the vaccine. Do you know where else they see that fucking symptom? With COVID. With the fucking disease that's 1 billion times worse. So if you're having a mild negative reaction to the fucking vaccine, the chances are the disease would fucking kill you. So I fundamentally reject, like, if you want to come up with a different disease or symptom that would basically prevent you from getting the vaccine, I am happy to hear it, but I fundamentally reject heart inflammation or lung inflammation. Because basically, if the vaccine does it to you, you can goddamn guarantee the fucking disease is going to do it worse.
Okay, so here's mild to moderate problems, according to. So here's the mild to moderate problems, right? It's mild rash lasting 2 to 4 days, swelling,
no.
tenderness of lymph nodes lasting 2 to 4 weeks after blisters healed, fever of over 100 or 102 regarding adults and children, secondary blisters everywhere on body, serious eye infection or loss of vision due to spread of vaccine virus to the eye, rash on entire body, severe rash on people with eczema, encephalitis, which can lead to permanent brain damage, severe infection beginning at the vaccination site, and death. One of those applies directly towards me. I'll let you guys take a guess, but one of those applies directly towards me, which is why the doctor is said to wait for it to be fully approved by the FDA, because then there's more studies released on that vaccination in which my doctor can research more on what that certain vaccination has risks of, and we can talk about it then. And odds are probably I'll get it once it's fully approved by the FDA and the research is released.
Okay, you're consulting with your doctor. I think
I have
we
a
all
question.
agree.
No, Mike says there's no reason why anyone would not get the vaccine at this moment in time.
There's no reason a doctor would recommend it. It's total bullshit, unless you're like 2 years old.
Mike, you were
Does
so
anybody have any
disingenuous.
issue?
Wait, but Spartacus, even if that were the case, right? So you're some special case where you get in the vaccine might kill you or some shit, right? Why would you be on here saying that other people shouldn't get the vaccine and that other people should question the vaccine?
I've always said consult with your doctor. That's what I've always said.
So you think the vast majority of people should get the vaccine?
No, Dooby, stop. I've gotten shit on every panel I've gone on for saying consult with your fucking doctor. I don't want to hear this anymore. This has been my advice the entire time. Consult with your fucking doctor.
Okay.
So homeopathy would get everybody so upset.
So if doctors recommend the vast majority of people get this vaccine, you think they should do it? And so I'm going like a step further. Do you think they should be forced to do it if it's not some kind of special risk case like you have?
If your doctor recommends, if your doctor that knows your medical history and looks at your medical history and looks at the vaccine and they recommend that you get the vaccine, I think that you should get the vaccine. I do not think you should be forced to get the vaccine. I don't think a medical procedure should be forced on anybody.
Do you think there should be so let's say we're not doing my thing, which is tying you to a bed and giving the vaccine, right? Which I'd be totally okay with. But let's say that there are other penalties, like you don't get to go to public buildings, or you don't get to go into I don't know, stadiums and shit. You don't get to go places where there are lots of people. Would you be okay with that? To have a vaccine card?
How would you enforce that?
Well, you could issue a card, right, to people, just like a license.
Show me your papers.
That shows, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, voter ID laws are so racist now, aren't they?
Well, I'm for voter ID laws. I'm for voter ID laws. So you can issue some kind of card, right? That tells you whether or not this person is fully vaccinated. I don't think that's that difficult for people to do. So, given that you think that the vast majority of the people should probably get this thing, why would it be a bad thing, right, for people not to be allowed into public venues where they would be a risk to other people if they're unvaccinated?
Well, odds are that you're talking about vaccinated people and protecting vaccinated people, in which we've already talked about that these vaccinated people are going to have little to no symptom whatsoever probability with the vaccine, correct? I've already said that that's probably what the vaccine does, and that's why I was talking about testing bias, right?
Yeah, but you're much more contagious as a non-vaccinated person, right? So why should we allow you into these places? Why should you be able to go into public?
You're much more likely to catch it.
You're much more contagious if you're unvaccinated.
Where's the study for that?
You're not more contagious.
There's a UK study that shows that.
I would like to see. I'd like to see a study that's more contagious, because I don't even know how that would be studied. But
it's not.
Okay, so before we show you the study, so if it is a case that a person who is unvaccinated is more contagious than a person that is not unvaccinated, then would you support the idea that these people should be given vaccine cards, right, to show their vaccine status, and if they're not vaccinated, they shouldn't be let into public venues?
No, I don't think you should restrict.
Then why
someone
does it
for a
fucking
public
matter? You
opinion.
don't care about whether or not they're more contagious or not. You don't care about that at all. You care about some other thing.
No, what I care about is freedom and not
freedom.
being not a medical procedure being forced on anybody, or you can't go out in public unless you have this medical procedure. No, I
Your freedom to go
disagree with that
around infecting
wholeheartedly.
people. Okay, that's great.
GSU.
Yeah, that's not that is a
Or your
complete
freedom to be
disingenuous
infected,
take on
I
what
guess.
This is
I
why
said.
you should be. This is
That's
why
a
you should be
complete
quarantined.
disinge-
This is why you should be quarantined.
GSU, go.
It's just so much stupid shit. Like, so first off, like, if you go look up why the CDC changed their policy on who should wear a mask, it's because if you look at the scientific data, the viral load of people who are vaccinated but contract the vaccine is still contagious and dangerous, can be spread to others. So there's no logic behind treating a vaccinated and a unvaccinated person differently. Both of them can spread the virus. Usually this is not true when people get a vaccine, which is why initially they were revoking the mask mandates. But after the Delta variant and testing showed that people who are vaccinated can spread the virus, and you can go look all of this up, then that's why they reinstated that people should be wearing masks and people should be in smaller groups and people should wash hands and all of this stuff. So because of that, regardless of your vaccine mandate, people would still have to wear masks, wash hands, and do things like they do now, which is the same thing that you would prescribe for an unvaccinated person or non-vaccinated person. So the treatment that you would give a vaccinated and an unvaccinated person is the mask mandates, is gathering in smaller groups, is washing hands consistently, blah, 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 which is why the whole idea of a vaccine passport makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, what stupid shit did I say, GSU?
So there's a plethora of cases where your personal history could be such that you're not recommended to get the vaccine. My uncle has Parkinson's, and he was recommended, he has a whole bunch of stuff. That's just the one that I know about the most. But he was recommended not get the vaccine. There was also one of my friends was pregnant. Her doctor said, hey, maybe you should wait a little bit. So like the idea that every doctor in our country is saying, go get the vaccine to every individual is silly. And then we also have kids, Dooby. So would you advocate that the kids that can spread the vaccine, which also can't get the vaccine, should they be exiled as well because they're going to be unvaccinated?
And before you do that, did you send us the source on the viral load thing? Because I'm looking at a different source that says literally. Because I'm looking at a different source right now. Sorry, that says literally the exact opposite of what you're saying. I'm looking at it like right now. It's saying the exact opposite. So if you have something that's more updated, then I'd like to see it. Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So while that happens, I'd like to note one of the most recent releases from CDC. Which is August 6, 2021, labels what I saw as a concern with studies as a limitation. Let me see. I had it just a second ago. Let me control F it real quick. There we go. It says, second, asymptomatic breakthrough infections might be underrepresented because of detection bias. So that they label it as a limitation in their own study, as they don't know how many people are not getting tested and have it because of a detection bias.
Yeah, and the detection bias is typically going to be based on the population and infection rate and impact rate, which again, the bottom three categories represent 70% of the population.
I apologize. I was distracted. Could you repeat that, Spartacus, one more time, please?
Yeah, so what I was saying about testing bias, they labeled it something else. Okay. But the CDC's most recent report labeled the second limitation to their study was asymptomatic breakthrough infections might be underrepresented because of detection bias.
Yeah, so there might be more people who are infected. Isn't that what you just said? Did I miss it?
That was my original claim, and people were questioning on that claim. So that's what I was talking about. Was that the claim I originally had with the detection bias or the testing bias, is what I called it, is.
But they
CDC in their most.
But they understand.
They don't account for it. It's a limitation.
Yeah,
they don't account for it. It's a limitation.
But they know. Hold on. It's not like they don't know this is a possibility, right? These statisticians are.
They know it's a possibility, but they can't. They can't get the numbers.
But does that mean that the numbers
no
that we
way
do
in hell they're
have,
getting the
but
numbers.
does that mean the numbers that we do have are bad numbers and numbers that we can't actually design policy around? Because
Hey,
literally
Prime,
for
I'm-
any
They're
hold on,
questionable numbers.
for literally for any statistics, when we're dealing with a human population, right, where we can't like they're not like oranges, right? Like a collection of oranges. You can count the oranges, you can measure the oranges, right? They're people who live in disparate areas, who have different agendas, who reveal different amounts of information. All that stuff has limitations as to how you can collect data. That exists for all of it, for like any bit of health data. So does that mean that all that health data is unusable because we can't perfectly measure everything? Is that what you believe?
No, but most statisticians will put a plus and minus. So it's not a plus and minus in these studies that
Wow.
I've seen. And so because you can't realistically come up with a realistic plus or minus because you don't know. There's no way in hell to tell how many people are vaccinated and just get this asymptomatically.
Okay. Great. So, all right.
Sorry, I'm still compiling data points.
That's why they put it in the studies a limitation, right?
Yeah,
There's a
I know.
limitation
And
in their study.
Yes, but they are aware of this. They're keeping track of it. No, but what you're trying to do is invalidate those numbers. And
I'm not trying to invalidate. I'm
okay,
questioning.
well, hold on, why are you questioning the numbers? What's the point of questioning the numbers? The questioning of numbers for the
Because that's what science is all about. Is
yes,
questioning
you're
the
doing
current
science.
data.
This is you doing science. This is
Yep,
indeed.
this is
exactly what science
I'm
looks
questioning
like.
the data.
Yes, this is the same thing.
Am I not allowed to question the data based off a limitation the CDC even said they had?
Oh my god! All right, like I've said it 3
The
times.
CDC recognizes they have this limitation.
I literally just said that. That's the word that came out of my mouth.
So
why can't I question that the number might be a lot bigger than what CDC is reporting because of this limitation they even recognize they have?
It's just.
Can I read something
Whatever.
to
No,
you, Prime?
hold on. Sig, go ahead first.
Wait,
hold on.
you
Sig,
actually
hold on.
I regret not diving deeper into the whole what was it, chemo was part of stem cell research is part of homeopathy thing. Can we just go back to that? Just pretend like everything between when I asked him that and now it just didn't happen. You just pretend that. And I just say, so Fallenor, what like your full definition of homeopathic medicine just seems to be like anything that like a natural that just goes into the human body and that's just kind of, and that rebuilds.
Specifically anything that is a natural process. So like say for instance if you go and you like chomp down on some Tylenol, that's not a natural process. But if it's something like say for instance it's something your body naturally does. Like say for instance I get sick and my white blood cells naturally attack the thing that makes me sick. That is a natural process. So like say for instance regeneration of the body by the replacement of cells that are defective or damaged or dead through the process of stem cell replication is a natural process.
So
but
does it have any?
So like say for instance where you're seeing is like for stem cells there may be some confusion here. The process of lab generation of additional stem cells through a non-natural or a synthetic process of stem cell replication in a lab, that is a non-homeopathic practice. But then the injection of a human being with those stem cells that then conduct the process of natural cell regeneration, replication, and or replacement, that is a homeopathic process. So there's actually the practice of both non-homeopathic and homeopathic in that treatment.
So when we're talking about homeopathic medicine, I'm under the impression that we're talking about things like the homeopathic remedies, made through like the homeopathic dilution and all that stuff, right? Like diluting a whole bunch of things with water and all that sort of thing. Like, do you think that so follow? Do you believe that stuff like that works?
So for some things, like say for instance, if you go out and you eat willow bark, that is a homeopathic process, and it will help you with a fever.
Willow bark will help.
Homeopathic just dilution of something to like a severe amount.
Yeah. So like say for instance, willow bark used to be the natural application of the homeopathic application of what is modern day Tylenol and or aspirin. It's an anti-inflammatory, anti-fever.
But we're talking like one drop in like a part, like 1 to 1/10,000th or something like that, or like 100,000th.
No, that would be a particular like homeopathic remedy. So like say
that's
for
what
instance,
that's what I thought this whole thing was about.
You like took Knight's Bane and used it for a sleeping medication. You could do that if you heavily diluted it with water, but if you took too much, it could kill you. But you can use Night Bane for sleeping, and it has been historically used as an apothecaric application or homeopathic practice for thousands of years.
We'll get back to this. No, GSU, go ahead.
Yeah, so I posted a link that basically from the CDC site. I can read it again. If you go to the link that I posted, go to the section about fully vaccinated people with the thing. It says, in contrast, the Delta variant seems to produce the same high amount of virus in both unvaccinated and vaccinated people. This is the viral load, right? However, unlike other variants, the amount of the virus produced by Delta breakthrough infections in fully vaccinated people also goes down faster than infections in unvaccinated people. This means that like it goes down faster, right? Like I hope everybody understands that. This means fully vaccinated people are likely infectious for less time than unvaccinated people. So it is true that potentially the window to spread it contagiously is smaller, but it is absolutely true that the viral load of a vaccinated person who contracts this is very high and they can spread it.
Okay, so
it's misinformation to say anything.
So I actually did look at your link, and what I did is I clicked on the reference where that paragraph is referencing. I've actually clicked on that study. At the very top, it says, this article is a preprint, has not been peer reviewed. What does that mean? It reports new medical research and has yet to be evaluated and should not be used to guide clinical practice. When they say seems, they mean seems. I'm like, maybe, possibly, it could be, but we don't actually know. That's why they say seems. At the very top, it says that.
Okay. Do you think that the CDC would follow this? So they're saying seems because all of this stuff isn't completed, right? But what we have to also look at is their guidance, given the amount of things that they've recorded in the trial, well, not trials, but in the studies that they've done, right? So they have changed, and a lot of Democrats and Republicans are mad about this. They've changed to advising people to wear a mask. Why do you think they did that? Do you think they were bored? Do you think that the data wasn't suggestive that vaccinated and unvaccinated people should be wearing a mask to slow the transmission of the disease?
Yeah, you can transmit the disease. We were just talking about the viral load. I think, yes, you should be. I wear a mask. I'm vaccinated, and I wear a mask wherever I go, right? And you should wear a mask. But we're just talking about the viral load. That's a separate thing.
Yes. Wait, why do you think you're wearing the mask when you're vaccinated?
Because you can still transmit. You're just talking about the viral.
What do you think being able to transmit it means? That's the viral load inside of your chest cavity and mouth, and the ability
you have a
to spread
decreased
it to
viral
others.
load doesn't mean that you can't spread it at all. Correct? Decreased viral load doesn't mean no viral load, right? That's different
Correct,
from zero.
but hang on.
I never said that.
Hang on.
Okay,
All right,
great.
so you're actually onto a good point there, Prime. But what you're looking for is called critical viral load, which is the actual point where your viral load is actually high enough to be contagious.
And I don't see anything unless I'm missing it. If I'm missing it, then that's cool. But is there anything on this page that talks about the critical viral load? If I'm missing it, then I apologize.
Okay, the article suggests that it seems like from their studies, which I hope we know that this isn't approved yet. So everything is studies right now, and it's all extrapolations from the studies. From the studies, it seems to them that vaccinated people still have the same high amount of virus in both unvaccinated and fully vaccinated people. And because of that, they're prescribing that everyone should wear a mask. So if you disagree with what it seems like to the FDC, because as a CDC, just because it seems, they're looking at the studies and they're extrapolating from all of the data that's available to them. I don't understand why we would say we should trust this CDC.
Hold on.
And then when they say something that
literally
seems to
no, that's not what's happening. Literally, the only point that I was making, right, is the point talking about the point that you were making in terms of the viral load, and to saying you're saying that this is actually fact, and it's stupid to question otherwise about that viral load. This is based, from what I can see, off of one study, and that study at the top tells, or at least the publishing website says that it should not be used to guide clinical practice one way or the other, right? So to say that it makes no sense, right, to think that
so you think they don't have strong confidence?
I'm literally
in
looking at no, I'll have to get it. This is my phone. There's another study. I just literally looked that up, right? And talking about another study says it seems that you have decreased viral load when you're vaccinated, I'll have to get that sent to you. But like,
No, can I back you up on that?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, GSU, even in the citation that you just said, didn't it say that people who were vaccinated basically spiked in viral load and then went back down pretty quickly or faster than people who were unvaccinated?
Saying that they are infectious for a smaller period of time means absolutely nothing when it comes to should people wear a mask.
Sure. And I basically agree with the conception that you should. I don't even think Prime was arguing that you shouldn't wear a mask. I don't think he did. So I don't even know what we're really contending with here, because ultimately, like, here's the thing. So I was asking for examples of times where you shouldn't get vaccinated. You brought some up that actually doctors were consulting with the members of your family and said, don't get vaccinated. Sproutica said that he's consulted with his doctor and he said, not at this time, right? We're going to wait it out. We're going to figure it out. Awesome. You're consulting with your doctors. I'm not a fucking doctor. I didn't go to 8 years of medical school. All right. So that's awesome. That's based. I'm happy y'all are doing that. But what we're saying as a general rule, I think the reason why everybody got so pissy like 5 to 10 minutes ago is because oftentimes people will use the exceptions in order to like make broad statements about what people should and shouldn't do. And I think the reason why, Mike and Sig and myself are maybe like a little bit jumpy right now is because we think that by and large, the exceptions exist, but the rule should be go get your ass vaxxed.
Well,
Like,
Yeah, but do you think a better way to say that is to say exactly what you just said instead of the stupid shit Mike said, where everyone should go get it and there's no doctor that would prescribe differently? You see how being that hyperbolic and silly doesn't add to a conversation, and it's just silly ass shit.
Dooby just suggested. Okay.
All right, go ahead, buddy. Sorry.
Okay, Dooby just suggest, and like I want to let you know, like you talk about people being jumpy and stuff like that. Dooby just suggested that I be socially ostracized because my doctor suggested I don't get the vaccine.
That's not
yet.
true. I said you should be quarantined. That's a different thing, right? And if
Also
you're talking about the
socially ostracized
passports, no, that's keeping you out of places where you could be a danger to other people.
You said keep them out of public.
I'm assuming you're a person that doesn't want to kill other people.
You never
said keep them out of public.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Dooby,
but no. Wait, Jesse, wait, listen. But if it is the case that unvaccinated people are more contagious than vaccinated people, then if you're a person that doesn't want to kill other people, kill old people, kill children,
doesn't matter. I
can't imagine a situation in which you wouldn't agree with vaccine passport.
Oh damn! I gotta kill
So I should be socially ostracized because
that's not
my
social
medical
ostracization.
conditions.
That is not what that is.
Oh please, God, let me ask a question.
No, I want to first. I asked the question earlier. He never answered. So Dooby, kids right now are not advised to be vaccinated. Are you saying that they should be exiled too? Because they're a risk. Absolutely. Because that's what you're advocating for.
You're exiled because
that's
you can't go to the public venues.
You're advocating for.
No, you're a danger to other people, so you shouldn't be around other people. I don't understand why that's so difficult.
Kids are a danger to
if children. If what you're saying is true, so given that there's a ton of other shit. Wait 1 second. There's a ton of other shit you said. Oh my god! Listen.
Do you think kids can transmit COVID? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Okay. Can kids be vaccinated? Yes or no?
I'm not sure.
No, the answer is no. Okay, so since kids can't be vaccinated and they can spread it, should they not be allowed in public?
They should not be allowed into public venues where they could be a danger to other people. I don't understand why that's controversial to you.
Okay, so kids, the immunocompromised, and the people that decide to whatever due to their own volition, all of those people shouldn't be allowed in public. Okay.
Yeah, they should
not be allowed in places where they're a danger to other people.
I don't honestly
transplant. They should be publicly exiled.
Hang on. Here's a great counterpoint to that. What about the people who have gotten vaccinated that are still a carrier? You're saying that even people that are vaccinated can't be allowed in public because they're still a danger to other people because they themselves are still carriers even though they've been vaccinated because they can still infect other people. So that you're
vaccinated.
No. But by your own logic and by your own practice of your own rules, you're literally saying no one can go in public.
That is not what I'm saying. What? No, that is not what I'm saying.
You're suggesting someone's a risk.
I don't know why this is so difficult for you guys to follow along. So Eleanor, if you were vaccinated and you were one of the rare vaccinated people that gets this thing anyway, then yeah, you should not be out
You
in
don't-
public. You should
You
quarantine
don't know
yourself.
that until you get
Yeah,
it.
they tell you to quarantine.
Yeah,
You
why
don't know until you
is
do
that
it.
like is that surprising to you that I'd say that you should quarantine if you have COVID? Of course you should.
No, it's because you were using risk and now you're using having the disease. And those are incongruent things. That's what Sprout
Yeah,
is
but
trying to get you to
that's
see.
the issue, like,
But you're
but I-
absolutely stupid.
But,
But I actually
could
just
it be that
provided
there's
y'all
two
with an
reasons why
example.
people should be?
Well, no, I quarantined when my wife had COVID. I didn't know if I had COVID or not. I quarantined, and to be 100% honest, to be just blatantly honest here, I about missed my grandpa's funeral because I was quarantined. Okay, so
Okay,
here's
can
the
I-
thing. So it's just because having COVID and the possibility of having COVID, both aren't quarantinable. They're both not quarantinable. Dooby, what you're suggesting is public exhalation against anyone who is a risk to anyone else's health. That means anyone who could get sick, who could pose a risk to someone else's health, should be publicly exiled until it's decided that they are no longer a risk to someone else's health.
Okay, seriously, I have a question and I need to ask it. Sprout, so you're saying that you're one of the folks that basically your doctor is not recommending getting vaccinated at this time.
Yes.
So are you going into public places? Are you wearing a mask when you do go into public places?
I'm wearing a mask when I go into public places, such as the grocery store, yes.
Okay. All right, cool. I just wanted to make sure that we have some level of fucking consistency here. Because GSU, I'm pretty sure, your doctor who's recommending that your uncle doesn't fucking get the vaccine is going to recommend that your uncle either stays home or basically wears a mask whenever he goes in public and tries to reduce his level of public. The thing that's not following for me here is, like, I understand there can be exceptions, and that's totally fine. I'm actually really happy to have nuanced conversations about the exceptions. Is what I do all the time. What frustrates me is just like, basically, like, we need to acknowledge that, one, this is a deadly disease. 2, most people should get vaccinated. 3, that there's advantages to getting vaccinated, like having like reduced sick times and reduced symptoms. And 4, there might be a few exceptions for getting the vaccine, but realistically, most people are better off with it than without it. That should be, even from your perspective, those statements should be made.
Can I respond to something? Counterpoints real quick. So, I mean, this has not been the first panel people have gone after me for having a medical condition that prevents me from getting the COVID vaccine now. The doctor said, in all probability, once a vaccine is fully authorized by the FDA, that he will probably recommend it. But at this point in time, it's better for me to not take that risk until he gets a better view at these vaccines, considering my age, and considering what my risk factor, right? So, anyways, he's taking all that into consideration. Now, probably once Pfizer becomes fully authorized by the FDA, you'll see me get vaccinated. And you know what? I will tag every motherfucking one of you that wants to be tagged when I get vaccine, holding up my vaccine paperwork, okay? I'll blur out my vaccine paperwork and I will tag every fucking one of you if that's what you want.
Oh, please
But
do.
Sprout, we can do it together because that's
Okay.
the thing that I'm waiting on is
That
the
fucking
Pfizer.
works.
I'm waiting for full approval, and that's the thing. It's like most people, let me phrase that. I don't want to say most people. I don't want to be generalizing, but people like Sprout and myself, and I think me and you are on the same page here. My issue is it comes down to risk assessment, which is based on what I currently understand, based on the current data, statistics, and data sets that I've seen, which is a lot, unfortunately. My risk factor from the COVID is like 0.0001% chance of dying.
No, it's 0.002.
No, that's what my current one is. I don't know about everybody else's, but mine is 0.0001. That's mine. And then from what I understand, from everything I've read and everything I've seen and my medical history, my risk factor from dying from the vaccine is like 1.7%. These are basic math problems to me. This is why I'm...
What the fuck did you just say? Did you just say that you had a 2% chance of dying from the goddamn vaccine?
Based on my heart history and my family's heart history and my vascular history,
But
yes.
COVID... Hold
right.
the fuck up.
Counterpoint,
No.
he's right. Yeah, just say he's right. Just tell him he's right. It's fine.
How the fuck can a minimized version of the disease give you a fucking higher chance of killing you than the fucking
But
disease itself.
it's not minimized.
Can you riddle me that while I'm fucking gone? Because frankly, I don't want to have a fucking aneurysm. So I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. Holy shit.
It's not but it's mRNA, right? So that not like a minimized version of the. Am I?
No.
The Johnson & Johnson might be the
No,
dead
it's the
virus,
live
but I
virus.
don't know.
Yeah.
I can't
And
remember.
that's the data that I'm
Yeah,
waiting on.
But the
Like
mRNA
it's,
Johnson
is
and Johnson is
spike
not
protein.
mRNA. Pfizer.
no, it's
and,
not. It's live load. J&J is live
Pfizer.
load.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the other one.
Anyway, boy.
Moderna, I think it is.
This has been fun.
Wait, so
Yeah.
one second. So fellow owner, given that you say that you can't get this, that it's not safe for you to get the vaccine right now, and I like a Sprouticus, I'm assuming you're a person that doesn't want to kill other people, right? So I'm assuming you've been quarantined this entire time, not going out in public unless you absolutely need to.
I'm either quarantined or I wear a mask.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't just run around licking
you
doorknobs.
actively try not to go out in public, right? So if there's a way to get around going out in public around people, you don't do it, right?
Typically, I don't like going around people.
Okay.
I'm
that's
usually
good.
in my car somewhere.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's about having the data. Because here's my issue and my concern. If something happens to me and I die, a lot of people, not just me and my family, but a lot of other families are negatively impacted severely. And that's a bad thing. It's not just going to hurt me if I die. It's going to hurt a lot of people. And so I have to take that into consideration. And dying is a very bad thing. I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that dying is not a bad thing.
Hey, wait.
What else
You
is
know,
bad?
mind
But
this
what
panel,
else
so,
is
like,
bad?
you know.
Hold on. The COVID doesn't just kill people. We understand this, right? That it actually hurts people, like scars them, and maybe they're having disabilities for life, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a thing that
Yeah.
also happens, right? At a greater rate
I'm
than
aware
dying.
of the increased lung capacity, the sterility, and the other issues. That is correct. I'm well aware of those problems. The issue is dying itself is the symptom I'm concerned with.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not against getting vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for dozens of things, from anthrax to fucking like tester fucking system boosters. Like I've had all kinds of crazy things: smallpox, polio, several viruses from overseas. Me and Sprouticus both have. We both received the same, probably experimental level vaccinations in the military. I'm not against vaccines. I'm specifically against vaccines that have not been fully vetted.
Okay.
And that's my concern, is these
Okay.
have been rushed through because it was an
It
emergency.
wasn't
and
rushed through.
It
The
wasn't
development
rushed
was
through.
not
We can't
rushed.
say that.
Don't say
it
that.
wasn't rushed
If it, if
It
it was
wasn't
rushed
rushed
through, it
through.
would be approved right now. That's an
10-year
incredible
process.
amount of
It's
pressure.
not
So
rushed
it wasn't
No,
it wasn't
it
rushed
wasn't
through.
rushed
It was given so it wasn't rushed through. It was given emergency use authorization. If it was approved at the same time it was given emergency use authorization, you have a reason to say it was rushed through. But it was
Exactly.
given emergency use authorization because it met the requirements to be given emergency use authorization.
Okay.
It doesn't,
Yes.
as of right now, it doesn't meet the requirements to be fully approved by the FDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's
great,
what I'm
great,
working on.
great,
I want
great,
something that's fully
great.
approved.
100%. Awesome. This has been wonderful. I didn't come here to talk about COVID. I honestly did not. Was not.
You knew what this was
No,
gonna
I
do.
didn't. No, I actually didn't want to talk.
I'm playing.
Yeah,
I'm playing.
yeah.
I'm
All
playing.
right. So Sig, are you happy you came back?
Yeah, I'm fucking fantastically happy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Gosh.
Well, from the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, let's go. Let's turn to a less problematic topic.
Wait, can I say one? Can I say
Yeah.
one thing before we move on?
Very quickly. All right, because I want
It's
to
gonna,
move.
it's gonna be controversial.
Oh, don't say it. Don't say it then at the very fucking end. Don't do that. All right.
No, it's just a. All right, no, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
We'll talk about
All
it
right.
later. Look, closed panel. I mean, open panel or after panel.
All right. Oh boy. Oh boy. To my audience, if you're enjoying this content, hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on, so you know I'm going live. We do 6 days a week. We have these discussions. Don't want you to miss out. Hit us up on social media. !social. In chats. Follow us on Twitter. Jump into the Discord. I can't spell the word social apparently. Hold on. I'll work it out.
I beat you to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Follow us on Twitter. Jump to our Discord, which is where we do everything in this community, right? Having conversations there all the time. And follow us on YouTube, right? Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and comment. That's how we grow this platform, right? So help us out there as well. Okay. All right. And I'm going to remind my audience one more time, because they're going to pretend like I didn't say this, is that when we started putting this together, we had a completely different lineup of individuals. And those individuals left, right? They for different reasons, all for different reasons, and they're not here. And so I really would like them to have been here for this next topic, but it is what it is, right? People tell me that I should design my panels like around the guests. Right? It's like, oh, we got this person here. Well, then have this question for them, right? Because that's their interest. Here's the thing: people cancel all the goddamn time. It's literally impossible to do that. It's impossible to do that. I'm telling you. If you haven't done this before, you don't know. If you haven't been part of these panels and seen people like the exchange of individuals, you don't know. It's fucking impossible. Here we go. All right. Topic 2. California has instituted a system where transgender / non-binary inmates will be able to transfer to prisons that affirm their gender identity. Does this make sense? Should prisoners be separated by gender or sex? If they should be separated by sex, then what do we say to women who are incarcerated who've been victimized by men? Is there a third solution? All right, there it is. We'll all do. Just put your hand up. It's introductions. All right. Here we go. Sig, go ahead.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Yes, they should do it. It makes perfect sense. That's it.
Okay, great. So far, so good. Dooby.
Yeah, I agree with Zach. I think every argument I've heard against trans women being in women's prisons is bordered on transphobic. I've looked into this for very deeply. I haven't found a single good argument across the board that isn't just, oh, these are actually men, so they shouldn't be there. So if you don't think these are actually men, you should be in favor of them being in women's prisons.
Connor. If you're talking, then we can't hear you, buddy. All right.
Create 3 different secure areas: one for men, one for women, one for high risk folk in general, and then just go in the place that is least likely to result in basically injury or death. So prisons are dangerous places. Let's make sure that going to prison isn't a fucking death sentence for people.
Okay, Mike.
I have no issue. Whatever. I mean, I don't know enough about it to really say anything about it, except for, I mean, it sounds like they should have their own area.
Could you say that last part again? You cut out a little bit.
Oh, it sounds like they should.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Spartacus.
Okay, so I guess y'all gonna hate me for this one.
Gosh.
So I do not think that I think that it should be separated by sex. If you were born a male, you get to go to male prison. If you're born a female, you get to go to female prison. And the idea that the ending of the question says if they should be separated by sex, then what do we say to women who are incarcerated who've been victimized by men? And I could easily turn that around. If they're going to be separated by gender, what do we say to women who are going to be incarcerated that were victimized by men? Like
that's what Prime meant in the question.
But it can go either way, right? It can go either way, right? Because if you could say if they're separated by sex, then what do we say to trans women who are incarcerated who have been victimized by men? And then if they should be separated by gender, then what do we say to women who have been incarcerated who are victimized by men? So I mean, you could ask that both directions, which is why I found that last part of the question a little bit weird. But I think if you're born a male, you get to go to male prison. If you're born a female, you get to go to female prison, no matter what you decide that you are.
Good dog. Falinar.
So I actually think that it's a weird place. This is going to be an interesting take. Let me word this carefully. Based on what I've seen from a lot of stuff that's actually being stated on, I guess, just general forums like Twitter and other places like that. So take it as you may. There's been several complaints by both female prisoners across the board in the state of California, as well as also by a lot of representing attorneys, that there's severe concerns that sexually active men that were sex criminals, for instance, have been opting to quote unquote transgender in the prison systems. Not saying that people aren't legitimate, not saying that some of them aren't actually doing it, but in some cases they're claiming to be transgender to be transferred to female prisons. And there has been a reported and confirmed increase, substantial increase in sexual assaults and rapes in female prisons directly due to this. And it has become a major concern for the prison systems there. So I'm on the board, but also I'm also on the fence. I think that there should actually be some stipulations with this, such as, okay, well, if you're going to say that you're going to transgender, that you actually go through the process of going through the transition itself, and you actually start the hormone therapies, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'll post from the things that I've seen on Twitter, for instance. But that's my concern. I think that transgender people still have rights, whether they're in prison or not. I think all prisoners have rights. I think if they're legitimately transgendered and they feel like they should be transferred to the opposite sex or opposite perceived sex prison, they should be allowed to. But I also do believe that there should be protections and rail guards in place to protect the populations of the respective sex to ensure long term that it's safe for all population. I guess all populations of sexes.
Biggs is away. So if we'll go to GSU Gambit.
Yeah, so this is a really complicated topic to me. Wow, this is like super complicated. So we've had the transgender sports debate a lot, right? And one of the biggest things is HRT and how it reduces muscle mass, a bunch of other things, and it attempts to equalize competition for sports. The thing that's scared of me about prison is that they're with how we're defining transgender more recently in the circles that I've been in and listened to. It seems scary that anyone could classify themselves as transgender, like what Fallon was saying. I'm not sure the data he was referencing, so maybe you should definitely source that because I'm pretty sure Chad
Yeah.
is probably going to scream at you to source that,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like me. But there is no equalization like what we think is in our sports. I even have a problem with the sports thing, and we can talk about it later time. But so given how many rapes happen inside of like male prisons today, like my stepfather works in a prison and he tells me how like most of the time when people come in there within 3 months they're raped for sure. Like absolutely. If somebody's in a state penitentiary, they've been raped, period. And looking at how violent some of these people are once they're in jail, thinking of putting them into a situation where they could be far more physically dominant, because according to latest talks and things that I've been in, like the requirement for HRT and all these other things, none of this is required to call yourself transgender. You can just say, hey, I'm transgender, and then boom, you're transgender, right? And if the state is going to honor it in that way, and this sounds weird, but if we don't have any other parameters other than self-identification in prison, I don't know if they have to go through like several some of the things like you have to go to outside of prison. So it all depends on how these things are playing out. But I'm generally against it, and I'm generally for segmenting by sex for sure. I think it's incredibly complicated though. Like maybe a person that, it sounds so bad, but maybe a person that transitioned before they went to prison or something, potentially. But somebody in prison transitioning, I don't. It sounds bad, but I don't know if I support that person's right to transition. I support any adult's right to transition. I don't think it matters to anybody else, right? Like you should be able to do whatever you want. But when you're in prison and they're particularly harmful, granting that type of ability, I'm far more scared of it than I would be. Like for adults, random adults outside of prison. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get into it in the open.
It's open. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me
So
go
can
ahead
I?
and start.
let's
Well,
just-
really quickly though, because I
Biggs, wait,
see
Biggs
their
is coming.
judgments
Biggs is coming back.
GSU.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Biggs is back. Okay.
Yeah. Hey Biggs.
Yeah, let me just
Hold on, no. Biggs, we just we were waiting for you. So your introduction to the second topic. You're muted.
Muted.
Pro streamer.
Sorry. So everybody else won already?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So for this topic, I think it's very important that this seems like something that's very delicate and should be handled on a case-by-case basis. I think that each circumstance should be approached on whatever can be best for the person involved, as well as the person that they will be put with, as far as like being, inmates with or whatever. So I think that we need to kind of take this as we kind of just as they come. I don't think somebody that's completely like a post-op trans woman should be put in with cells with men. But I also don't know if it's also correct that somebody that's just a few months into their transition should be put into either as well. So I think it should be case by case, and I think we should kind of see what is best for the person themselves, which where they can be safe, and where also the people that they're put with can be safe as well.
Dooby.
Okay, so first of all, it seems weird that we would just accept that all these people are going to be raped. If rape is that big a deal, like, yeah, we should definitely do something about that, right? Like, I don't think that doesn't seem like a productive way to run a prison if the goal is to rehabilitate people. So that's just number one. But if the concern is that these people are going to be more physically dominant because they were born males, I mean, they're petite women, they're big burly women, right? Some people are more physically dominant than others. It just seems weird that we would, because these people might be more physically dominant, we put them in with men, or we put them in another facility. And you made a point earlier that like most male prisoners rape, that there's like an epidemic of rape in male prisons. That's true, but women's prisoners, right? People in women's prisons are also like 30 times more likely to be raped than women on the street, right? So there's an epidemic there too, right? So I don't know. It just seems like if what you're worried about is the physical dominance of these people, like you should just be like arguing for organizing prisons into weight classes or something.
So,
Well, you agree?
Dooby?
Wait, I want to ask Dooby a quick question, and then I promise I'll let you go, Sprout. You agree that, like, man, I don't know how to say this without it sounding yikes. You agree that
do it, embrace it, just do it.
No, I'm just. You agree that this is how we can say it. Yeah, okay. I got to remember these words. You agree that a trans woman pre-op raping a cisgender woman is different from a cisgender woman raping a cisgender woman, right? You agree that there's a different action being taken. Both of them are horrible violations of human autonomy, blah blah blah. But you do agree that like that's those two things aren't congruent, right?
Well, I'm not a woman, so I'm not going to speak to their experience, but I can to mention that a woman being like forcibly, digitally penetrated by another woman would feel better about it than if someone like a woman being raped by someone with a penis, right? Like I'm sure these are both traumatic scenarios, right? I don't know why we make the distinction.
So Dooby, imagine for a second that you're in an all-female prison, right? You're in an all-female prison, and you're a female, in this scenario, and you're in this prison, and then they allow someone who has a penis, who says that they're a female. How comfortable are you going to feel showering? How comfortable are you going to feel around this person that everyone knows has a penis?
This is emotional.
Okay,
this is like an emotional.
Yeah, this
word.
is.
Yeah.
I'm asking you. I'm not necessarily scaring people. What I'm saying is,
no, I understand.
It's going to change the entire culture of the prison. I think it would make rape, if not go up, make it seem like more of a threat.
Why? Do you think trans people just rape people more?
No, what I think is
what
I think is that mixing penises with vaginas typically ends in sex, whether they like it or not.
But women rape each other all the time in prison. Like that's a thing that happens. It's at 30 times the rate as like the general population.
Even in basic training, males are not allowed in the female barracks, and females are not allowed in the male barracks.
These are males.
This doesn't make it okay. Why does this change things? Like Spartacus, your example.
I'm not saying it changes anything.
Right.
I'm sticking to my original stance as to I
Right.
said if you're born a male, you get to go to male prison. You are born a female, you get to go to female prison.
Yeah, we all heard you when you said that, right? But then you started to try to clarify by saying, "Oh, like the rape will probably go up, or the rape."
I said if it's not going to go up, the fear of it is.
The fear, if it's not, then the fear of it is. So like,
Wait, if there's already a rape epidemic, like of course there's already fear of rape.
Oh, it's probably so. We just assign this based off people's like feelings, like, oh, I think it's gonna like, well, like when desegregation was going on or was about to go on, a lot of people were afraid. They were afraid that. No, I'm just saying, a lot of people were afraid that certain things would happen at higher rates, right? Like that doesn't make it okay.
So
right?
you're equating my position with being against segregation.
I know. I'm saying it's a poor argument. I'm saying saying people are gonna. No. I'm saying people are gonna be more afraid is not.
There's more coherence.
That's what I'm saying.
But you agree that the coherence of those two people, the white person that's afraid of the black person, and the person that's afraid that could be systemic abuse amongst criminals, like those two statements don't have the same amount of coherence behind them. So to equate them in this conversation is disingenuous.
No, I don't think they have. No, I actually don't think. When I say this, I think they do have the same level of coherence. Absolutely. Okay. This idea that like, oh, because there's a person that has a penis that's here, that I'm afraid that you're saying I should just be more charitable to this person.
Well, imagine a trans man in men's prison, right?
Okay.
You really don't think with the epidemic of rape that instead of a butthole, they're gonna like what resembles closer to a vagina. You don't think that's gonna happen?
Like the issue there is that there's a rape epidemic, right?
Yeah,
so
the issue
rape
is
epidemic.
the issue is the rape.
But that's not. But wait. But we can't talk. We can talk about these things in a silo because there's not going to be a solution for both, right? So things are happening right now, and legislation is changing our current prison system. So let's stick in them. Let's not go to the let's abolish prison. Let's make prisons rehabilitative. We all want that, but that's not related to this conversation. So let's not hop into that other conversation.
Yeah. So
hang on.
Hold on. Sig, finish your point. Then Connor. Then follow.
I was gonna say GSU. These things are tied. When we're talking about the prison system, in the United States and everything, right? These things are like tied. We can't just be like, let's ignore it. Look at these in a vacuum. You're asking us essentially look at this in a vacuum when you say shit like that.
Because that's how the policy is going to be applied, right?
No, it doesn't have to be.
Is the policy changing in California right now?
So what anti-rape policy do you see being pushed in California?
Well, it being illegal for one, like every.
Okay. But is it changing jail? Is it changing what people in jail do with it being illegal? I'm pretty sure murder being illegal doesn't change murder stats in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So it being illegal was just a disingenuous take at trying to make what I said less reliable.
No, it was not what you said. GSU asked me a question about what policies does California have to try to reduce rape, and I said, well, they have probably one that's very good, but obviously there's a lot more things that have to do with prison and prison reform that they could be doing better. Absolutely.
So question, Sig, quick question, because I know we was about to move on. Do you think a trans man is at a higher risk of being raped in a let me use the words correctly, in a male or female prison?
Male or female?
Given the statistical data, I don't know how you
honestly, I'm not sure about that.
Wait, okay.
Stop. We got a list. We're gonna go down a list. But finish your point. No, finish your point.
If a trans man were to go to if Buck Angel were to go to a fucking female prison, I think he'd have a pretty high risk of being raped. I don't know about that one, Chief. Like that would actually be don't you think? Think about that, GSU, for a second.
I don't have to think about this. The data on it is clear. If you're an individual in a male prison today, the likelihood that you're raped is astronomically high.
Feminine gay guys are also much more likely to be raped. Does that when we put them into women's prisons?
No, that wasn't the question.
Okay. This doesn't break down. So the article that I provided to these individuals, and we'll go to Connor after this. The article I provided doesn't actually break this down in between trans men and trans women. All it says is that there have been 261 requests for transfer, right? And of the 261 requests, all but 6 asked to be housed in a woman's facility, right? So of the transfers, only 6 of them, I guess that means they said transfer me to a male prison. I guess. But in any case, all of them have been to. So what does that mean? does that mean
wait,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So transgenders are the only ones that get to choose whether they want to be in a male prison or a female prison.
Yeah, people who
Transgender
are
people.
trans. This is
People. They're people. They're not transgenders, please. I'm
Transgenders,
sorry.
yeah,
They
gotta
are
be that guy.
so they are transgenders.
trans
They're
people.
not. They're not.
Trans people.
So what? Okay. Let me put it this way: cisgendered people can't say, "Oh, I'd like to be in the women's prison." That sounds
Yeah,
cool
that's
to
the
me.
point. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm
what
saying. Is
they-
that transgender people can decide. Well, theoretically, would if this would go through, would be able to decide if they want to be in the male or female
It
prison.
has already gone through transgender.
Well,
this is what I'm
that-
talking about. Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
I got a list. I'm gonna go to the counter next, right? But the point is, all I'm saying is that the article that I cited doesn't necessarily break it down between trans men and trans women. All it does, right, the closest thing it gives us to that is saying that only 6 requests have been made to transfer, well, to not a female prison, which I'm assuming means a male prison. So maybe that's a trans men asking to go to the male prison. But if that's the case, right, I'm assuming there's more than 6, again, of these initial 261 requests, 6 trans men in there. I'm guessing, right? And if that's the case, then it also brings up the question as to why does no one want to go to a male's prison, right? And then I think that plays into what people have been saying. So hold on, no, we got to go to Connor.
Can you take a guess? Can you take another guess for me?
Connor.
Yes. So the reason why, so GSU, I understand why you want to keep the conversation very limited, but literally as you were saying that, I was trying to make it more holistic. The reason why is because basically I don't think that we're going like I'm kind of with Dooby here, where the root should be like, we have a rape epidemic in prisons. That's basically the major concern, and that's what we need to address holistically. That's not going to be addressed by this policy. It's probably not even going to be addressed by this conversation. But I don't think that, if you commit a crime in American society, that should mean that you go to a place where you either get to choose to be a rapist or a rape victim. That sucks that that's accepted in our society. And even if you look back in humor from like the 1990s, 2000s, it's like fucking jokes. Like we just joke about male on male rape like all the time. Sure. So that's super fucked. And then there's 2. I want to do a holistic proposal. One of them, to address this issue very specifically, I think that there should probably be 3 groups, and people should be thrown in these groups depending on which one is least likely to result in their injury or death. One would be men's prison, the other one would be women's prison, and then the other one would be a high risk category. Let's say that you're an effeminate man, but you don't quite fit into women's prison, you can go to the high risk category. If you're a trans man, trans woman, and you felt like you would be taken advantage of in either perspective, then you could go to the high risk category. The stipulation of being in the high risk categorization basically being that you treat the high risk people that you're partnered with not as victims to victimize, but as peers who are basically trying to get through this shitty experience together. What I would also say, because that I think that addresses the problem that's in front of us. What I think would address the problem in general, because we talk about rehabilitative, and I'm not like purely sold on rehabilitative justice, right? But I think that prison should basically be tiered in 3 different ways as well. The hyper violent, barely controllable folks, the folks who are just trying to ride out their sentence, and the folks who are actively trying to turn their lives around. Because what you could do is, instead of just having all stick, you could have carrot and stick. People who would have access to college classes, maybe they would have access to better accommodations, maybe less restrictions, like all that kind of stuff, in order to promote pro-social behavior and less recidivism. Whereas if there was people who were just victimizing other people in prison or jail, then those people are also segregated and maintained in a way that's safer for everybody else. And I'll leave it there.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Fallen North and Sig. And then Biggs, and then GSU.
Okay, so all right. To clarify previously,
I said
for chat.
no, so I meant Sproticus. Sorry, I meant Fallen North, Sproticus, Biggs, then GSU. Go ahead, Fallen North.
Cool. So, all right. So to clarify earlier, so that chat doesn't have a seizure. When I said Twitter, I mean the sources that I've seen on Twitter, not Twitter itself. I don't think Twitter would ever be, as people said, a fucking citation. But like, for instance, one of the resources I posted here in VC chat a while ago is, for instance, from the Women's Liberation Front. It's a class action lawsuit brought against California It includes the state attorney general, several prison wardens at this point, and obviously the Women's Liberation Front, which is a certified 501c3. I think they're like a feminist movement by definition and self-classification that specializes in women empowerment.
Which source? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm interrupting you. Which one did you post?
It's NBC.
No, I'm looking at all three of the. I'm looking at all three of the links you've posted.
Yeah.
Which one
The
is
first
it?
one is the Center Square one.
The Center Square one.
Yeah, and that one's in regards to the litigations case that they brought up. One of the points that they make within this case is the fact that 20% of the people that are requesting the transfer, 20% of transgenders that are identified are sex offenders. And they bring up other points such as the increase in the epidemic of rape cases in regards to transfers. I've included one of those actual active lawsuits where a woman was actually actively raped by a transgender person that requested one of these cases. That was in Illinois, but it just rates the cases themselves. It's also one of the links. It's the
Fallen, I don't mean to keep. I hate this because this is actual misinformation. This is fucking dangerous. Okay, the Women's Liberation Front is a known turf organization. Okay, it was founded by Lear Keith.
Wait, let's not ad hom, right?
I'm not
possible.
Let Sig finish his point.
He interrupted Fallen. Why do I have to let him finish?
That's true.
So no,
but,
like,
everyone shut the fuck up. Holy shit! I decide who talks. No one else. Stop that. Thank you, Sig.
All right. When you talk like all the things that you've said, right? Like when you talk about this group calls for the end of this sort of thing to happen. Okay. Well, no, it was like this group, which is a Women's Liberation Front, a known hate organization against transgender people. Okay, decided to speak out something about this sort of thing. They even call them trans-identifying men, right? Like these are people. This is from something from like 2009. All sorts of things. This isn't like this isn't a reputable sort of source or group to be posting here. It's not. I wouldn't call this anything like substantial.
So you're saying that prison wardens and the state attorney general is in the same boat?
Like just because there's some historically bad group doesn't mean they haven't found a valid case, right?
Yeah,
that's ad hom.
So this is after 24 rape cases. So you're not to disrespect you, but you're literally
no. The state attorney general didn't say. It says here that the letter written by the legal director of the Women's Liberation Front is directed to the governor, the state attorney general, the CDC sergeant. So this is a letter they wrote to them. The state attorney general didn't say shit.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that they did on this one. I'm saying that after this article was written, the state attorney general has also responded. This is what you're not letting me finish.
Oh, can we get a source? Can we just get a source on that?
Yeah, I'll continue to provide data. Because this is actually something that matters a lot to me. Because I date people that fall under this umbrella. So this matters to me.
That's weird. You earlier on you said you weren't really going to talk that much about it, and now you say, "Oh, this actually means a lot to me."
Can you let him provide the data? Can you let him provide the data without interrupting, Sig?
I didn't say that I wouldn't talk a lot about this, and you can roll the VOD if you'd like. Like I said, I have, and I said in the very beginning, like I'm actually informed on this because I care about this topic. So that's the self-defeating.
You're informed because you.
Yeah,
Sig, can you let him talk, please?
Hey, Sig, can you let him talk, please?
Yeah, but my concern with this is there are already 24 confirmed rape cases. So this isn't something you can just discard. This is an actual issue. And the other sources that I provided is there are hundreds more that are either already occurred or that have complaints about them that are still being investigated. So this is literally hundreds of rape victims. This isn't like, okay, one off, two off. I provided one of the lawsuits from one of the other prison systems, not just California, to show this isn't just an issue just in California. This is an America-wide issue, which I've agreed with other points. I haven't had a chance to speak on those. Because of the fact that this is an epidemic in America. Rape in prison is a very serious issue that needs to be addressed. And this is why I care about it, is because even though they are prisoners and they have committed crimes of various natures, they are still people. And people do not deserve to be raped, irregardless of what they have done. That being said, this is a very sensitive issue because of the fact that it impacts a lot of people's rights in a lot of different ways. And so this is a huge problem. I think, and I agree with what other people have said, that it should not be just something that people have just declared. And other sources that I'm looking for to pull up to also provide that's actually been discussed in the prison systems about an actual demonstration of genuine interest in the transition and not just a declarative statement of, oh, I'm transgender. Okay. Therefore, I should now be automatically transferred. So, that was actually... Go ahead, Prime.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt.
No, sure, no problem. But, like, if... so you said 24 cases, then you escalated that number. But whatever. Let's... 24 cases. 100%. Let's say all.
No,
Hold on, hold on.
let me define.
Let's say
That there-
let's say that all that is fully true, right? Is it that the problem is that these people who will be transferring will never victimize, or that they will victimize anymore, right? Because understanding what you said, right, that rape is unfortunately a very real part. Sorry, or what is? Sorry, I'm hearing a lot of background noise. Oh, I gotta meet someone. Founder. We got some background noise from you. I don't know. We got like reverb. Yeah. Okay. So, understanding that sexual assault is an epidemic in these prisons any which way, right? Even if it's true that trans individuals, right, have assaulted like cis women, right? Let's say this program. Let's move this program up 10 years, right? And we find there are cases of that. Does that mean that this program shouldn't be the case, especially since rape is a thing that happens in these prisons any which way? Maybe instead we should look at like if there is an increased rate, right? Like that these trans women are increased victimizers, right? Instead of what we usually see in the real world, where trans women are more likely to be victimized than the victimizer, right?
Well, no, that's part of the data set. So the one of the citations that I gave you, 24 are confirmed rapes. The hundreds more are investigations of concerned rapes, and then there are also hundreds more transgenders that are looking to transfer to female prisons, which is there is a concern that there could potentially be more rapes that have to be investigated.
Okay, so can I ask again, do you think trans people are just more likely to rape people?
I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that.
Then why do you keep implying that if they get to these women's prisons, the rape rates are going to go up?
I'm not saying that that's the case. What I'm saying is for places that have had transfers, there have been rapes.
Wait, but they're already like up to like close to like 10,000 rapes in U.S. prisons every year. If it's like 24, I'll say.
Finish your question, and then we're gonna go to Sproutcast.
Yeah, so if you're saying there's 24 trans rapists in women's prisons or whatever, and I think that study was like in the last 10 years or some shit. Like, this is a very small number, so I don't understand.
Well,
if we know that there are thousands.
This is 24 allegations. No, 24 allegations is what that he linked said. Allegations. That's
So there are thousands of allegations. Not believe all women. And these are the ones that are reported. Because a lot of these prisoners don't even report the rapes, right? So God knows how many there actually are. So if it increased by 24 because of these specific trans people, like why would we assume that if we allow more trans people in, it's definitely gonna go up, more people will be raped?
I'm not okay. So
not answer the complicated question he's throwing at us.
I
don't mind answering it. But go ahead.
So I will respond, and then I'll let you respond, GSU, if that's okay with you, Prime.
Yeah, and then we got to go to Sprout. Sprout's been waiting very patiently.
Okay. So I don't think transgender people, just by being transgender, makes you a rapist. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is there has been a formal litigation case filed because there have been an increase of rapes that are directly correlated to people who have declared themselves transgender, who have then transferred to female prisons, and then have raped people. That is what I am saying. That is the security concern. I do not think that even if, as you said, there are 10,000 cases, I am not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying rape is bad. All rape is bad. I would also say that discarding a single rape victim, irregardless of what current data set is, one more is still one more too many.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a rape issue, and we should deal with the rape issue rather than making this about trans people and implying repeatedly that trans people are going to go into then rape all these women.
Yeah, but you cut me off. And as I said before, I think the rape issue and the rape pandemic in prisons is itself a problem that needs to be resolved. I do not think that the problem should be exacerbated, and as I also said, I do not think that the rights of transgender people should be trampled on simply because of the fact that they are transgender. However, there have been reported cases in other data sets where people who are sex offenders have requested to be transferred to a female prison under the basis of them declaring themselves without any other supporting documentation or evidence that they are transgender. By literally saying they are transgender, They are requesting a prison transfer, and those have been denied.
Okay, there's so much.
But it is itself trampling on the rights of a transgender person. It's a very complicated situation.
God, there's so much I have to dig into that. But God damn it! All right, first GSU. We gotta dig into that later. GSU, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think Dooby's being regular Dooby and just trying to ask bad questions and hope somebody says the wrong thing. It's disgusting. But okay, so no one that I've heard is saying anything amongst the likes of just naturally transgender people, trans people, transgender people, trans people. I don't know which one. Everybody's mad that y'all are saying transgender, so I'm trying to remember to say trans people.
Trans
Okay.
individuals.
Yeah, trans individuals. Yeah.
Is it supposed to be trans people?
Just
apparently it's a slur or something. I don't know.
Apparently it's just go, please.
Yeah. So no one is saying that trans people just naturally rape people more. I think the conversation is over the power dynamic that would happen in a prison system where rape already happens. And that's very different from the question that you asked. So I feel like you asked the question in bad faith. And I think you understand what we're saying. You were just hoping that somebody slips up and just answers your question.
Well,
yes.
that's bullshit. Can I respond to that, or you want to get scallop on something else?
I'm not getting scallop on something else. I'm talking about one.
Okay,
topic.
then I'll respond to what you just said. So
okay,
we talked about the power dynamic earlier, right? You said that they are physically more dominant. Therefore, if rape is already an issue, if you introduce people that are physically more dominant, you might have more people being raped by these physically dominant people. But when I responded with, "Hey, there are petite women, there are burly women, there are women that are more physically dominant than other women," like it doesn't. If that's your issue, you should be arguing for like weight classes in prison or some shit. Right? So okay, well then how do we
can you let me respond?
That? Sure.
So can you let me respond? Yeah. So you said that dumb thing earlier, and I didn't get to respond because there's like 9 people on the panel, right? So we when we look at sports and everything, we've segregated ourselves in trying to make competition more fair, right? So it's realistic that there are some women that are going to be stronger than other women, just like there's going to be some men that are going to be stronger than other men. But it's always true, generally, that a pre-transition person is stronger than the average woman, right? Because the average biological male is stronger than the average biological female. So in inside of sports with HRT, you could say that we reduce things and we make the playing field even. I kind of have some disagreements with Hart and all the other stuff, but generally you can say that. You can't say that in the case of where we're talking about prisons and things like that right now, because all of those qualifiers that the Olympic staff and everybody else has on individuals that transition do not exist. So I think your whole framing of all of this is just bad faith.
Okay, so if that's the case,
do you disagree? Do you wait? Do you disagree?
Yeah, I disagree. But I'm going to ask you a question.
Well,
do you think that?
No, don't ask me a question. What do you disagree with?
Well, I don't think you addressed anything I said. I think you bring it up that they deal with this in the Olympics by requiring HRT over a certain period of time.
Do you think?
I don't see how that's all relevant to the prison situation, right? But this is what I was going to ask you. Unless you're saying that you would require that these people be on HRT for a specified amount of time before they're allowed to transition to women's prisons.
Say that again.
Would you be okay with them with trans inmates transferring to women's prisons or males prisons if they've been on HRT for a specified amount of time? Let's say a couple of years on HRT, then they can transfer.
All right, this is going to be trans medicalist, right? I think that's what the term is for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be gained still, and I think that we're looking at this from an aspect of regular people, and we're not looking at this from an aspect of criminals. And I think it's coherent to think that criminals might game a system like this. And I think unless there's also other blockers from these type of transfer requests, I wouldn't support it, even if they took HRT.
Wait, so okay. So
I would agree.
But again, if your issue is like physical dominance and like,
well, it's physical dominance, but it's also you didn't let me finish earlier. Remember, you butted in. I was going. You said don't get scalped, so I'll let you.
Go ahead.
So I think there's also a what's the word I want to use? I'm trying to think of what word.
Just say it. Just
no. It's not that. No, it's not that I'm trying to be. It's not that I'm trying to be PC right now. I'm trying to communicate my point. I think that if there's a individual with a penis and this is a criminal that could or could not be dealing with gender dysphoria and stuff, their ability to game this system is different. So it's not that we're necessarily talking about transgender people, trans people. We're also talking about the criminals who will game this system. And I think you're wholesale throwing it away as if it's impossible to game this. So that's why I think we're missing you.
Okay.
I just want to
Let's
bug in
no
here.
no
Like,
no
if
no
there's
no no
nothing-
no no
no.
We got to go. Sprout, Biggs, counter.
Okay, so now I was gonna say this a while ago, but Prime, if you would guess something else for us, that would be awesome.
Great.
So you're a male in a male prison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're a biological male,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a life sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting out of jail for the rest of your life. You're gonna die in jail. Now, tell me, which one would you rather be in? Would you rather be in the male prison or the female prison?
I take my chances in the female prison.
You take your chances in the female prison.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's the issue I have. Is Prime isn't necessary. Prime is not trans, but he still want to take his chances in the female prison.
That's two different things. For once, so now you're saying that I'm actually transferring under this program, right? That's a different thing. You didn't ask me that. You asked me if I would rather be in the male or the female prison, right? And I would say I'd rather be in the female prison. Right? That would probably be a safer bet. But that doesn't mean that I wanted to use this program or that I could use this program. Those are two different things. Now, but let's say that I did use this program. All right, so let's go with that.
Okay.
If I did use this program, does that mean, as a cisgendered male, because I am cisgendered, the cisgendered male, does that mean that rape will follow? So that in this example, I go to the female prison, and then I will necessarily rape a woman there.
Okay, what if it's not even rape, Prime? What if girls are just like, oh, a guy's in the women's prison, and they're like, I haven't had sex in so long. It still provides another issue.
Female prisoners fuck each other all the time, but that's not the important part, right? So,
but there's a difference between female
what I
versus
asked
female
about the
and
sexual harassment, right? So, or sexual assault.
I know what you asked about.
Okay, well
but
then
I'm not
answer
saying
that
that's not the
question
only
then,
issue.
if you already know
That's
it.
not the only issue.
That is the
That's
issue.
not the only issue.
Stop dancing it. So, answer that issue, then maybe we can go to something else. But answer that one.
It's not the only issue.
Yeah, I don't care. This is the one we're talking about. That's great. So, answering the question.
My question.
I don't give a shit what your question is right now. Now, I'm asking you a question.
I realize that, Brian.
I answered your question. I answered your question. Answer mine. So, as a cisgendered person, right, cisgendered male, if I slip through through the cracks of this program, does that mean that rape necessarily follows?
No, it doesn't mean that rape
great.
follows.
Right.
No.
So part of the scaremongering around this program is like, well, oh no, a cisgender male's going to get through, and then who knows what's going to happen, right? Well, look, it actually might be that a cisgender male is being raped a lot, like GSU pointed out, right? That they're being victimized, and then they use this program trying as this way to escape, right? And if that happens, that does not necessarily mean that sexual assault will follow, right? Those two things are very different. In fact, it's possible, right? Because if you're identifying, now that you're identifying as non-binary or trans female, right? That we know those people are more likely to be victimized. So part of the article that I showed to these individuals talks about how the prison staff in these prisons, right, have been saying that telling the women that get ready, the men are coming. Get ready, right? Because it's going to get crazy in here, right? You're going to get raped. That's what the prison staff is telling the women. So what do you think?
Is there a higher? Is there a higher? If you put biological males inside a biological female prison, you interrupted me.
Holy fuck! I can talk whenever the fuck I want on my channel. Thank you very much. So if I can mute you, you need help. You need help with that, understanding that. Don't worry, I got you. No problem. Good. All right. So I will finish my story. So you're telling these individuals, telling these women that increased rape will necessarily happen. Right? That is increasing the amount of stigmatism to these people. They are more likely, like these women coming in now because of the work of the guards, to be victimized. If these same guards are in charge, these guards are more likely to victimize those trans women. right? Or people claiming to be trans, whatever, right? That they're more likely to be victimized. That's the situation they're facing. I have a cousin. This cousin lives in California. This cousin is a prison guard, and this cousin is a person who, on their own, will bring up like, what's up with the trans people, right? He'll go on these rants, like completely impromptu, about these things, right? If my cousin is in one of these prisons, I don't know if she's in the male prison as far as I know, but he will be spreading that misinformation. He'll be part of these guards and making it more dangerous for trans women. That's what we have to be actually concerned with, right? Not necessarily, again, this thing that trans individuals will necessarily rape a person, or a cis male or necessarily rape a person. That people going through this program can be victimized, will likely be victimized, just like all the rest within the prison system. Okay, Sprouticus, I'm gonna unmute you. There you go.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that when you put a male into a female prison, it doesn't necessarily mean 100% of the time that rape is to follow, but it does mean that there is a higher percentage chance that rape will occur. The two can be separate but still be true at the same time. So while I'm going on this, Sig, you're not all in the free. I'm really glad you decided that not to believe all women anymore, claiming these are just allegations.
Wait, when did I talk about like any hashtag believe all women stuff earlier in this discussion? Can you link that, please?
Well, I'll go through your Twitter afterwards. I'm sure I'll post
I don't have
it
a
on
Twitter.
my stream.
I don't have a Twitter. Sprout.
Okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, I can
You
almost guarantee
you assume my position.
You're on the left.
My position.
Are you on the
It's
left?
fine.
Are you on the left?
Yeah.
This is what
Okay.
I'm on the left, and I don't say that.
Okay, so Sig Natural. Now I'm gonna take your word for it. Have you ever before stated believe all women?
No.
This is so stupid.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I mean,
I'm just stating. I mean, people do it to me all the time, so just feel lucky that it doesn't happen to you all the time. But what I was saying to Prime is that the possibility that happens will go up if biological males are in a biological female prison. That's undeniable, without a doubt. The possibility will go up. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the probability of it happening will go up.
Spartacus, given that assuming that many of these female prisoners are straight, right, and they probably won't care that this is someone who identifies as a trans woman, right? They're going to see a penis, they're going to be like, oh God, I haven't had dick in forever, and they might just have consensual sex, right? Like, I don't know why we'd assume that there'd even need to be rape, right? If this person is after sex.
I say that was another issue.
So why is this an issue, right? So do you think that prisoners should be allowed to have consensual sex?
No, I don't think prisoners should have consensual sex. No.
What, you think that they shouldn't be able to have sex with each other?
No.
No, by law,
Like
you're not
ever.
allowed to. It's classified as rape.
Hey, hold on. But if two prisoners like consensually decide
It's rape.
to have sex, it's rape. Like every
It's
time.
rape.
Yes.
That's really stupid. That's a law. That's a stupid law. Because I think two adults in prison can agree to have sex.
I think prisoners are not allowed to have sex with each other.
Yeah, I think
That's
the
just
reason is for that just to assume, right? Because consent is a weird thing in prison, and so I think that it's just blanket assume that it's problematic. I see why they do it. I can see why you might not want to do it, but I see at least I think I understand the reasoning behind it. So, all right, I'll leave it at that.
Why is
let's go to Biggs, who's been waiting a long time, longer than anyone here, and then Counter.
Thank you. Yeah, so I definitely can see both sides of this argument because when we look at it, like obviously we want to keep people safe, and I think that's the number one goal is we want people to be safe and comfortable. I mean, obviously I know they're prisoners, but we still want them to be safe, right? That's just like we don't want cruel and unusual punishment, okay? But when we boil it down to the actual data, and most cases say that transgender people are 9 to 10 times more likely to be sexually assaulted by their fellow inmates, regardless of whatever prison they're in. I would assume, again, based on the data I'm looking at now, is that it's the majority of the cases are trans women being put in male prisons because of the fact that the majority of the over 4,000 transgender people in prisons, most of them are housed based on their sexual assignment at birth, not by their lived gender. So I think that would be most likely assumed correct, right? And not only that, but they're also 5 times as likely to be assaulted by actual staff of the prisons themselves. So I think when we want to protect people, and I think that's like the number one goal, and I think we can all agree on, because even if you're arguing either side of this case, we want people to be as safe as possible. So I think that just based on the data we have now, that it makes sense to put people with the most, safest place they can be. And if I think that is the case, and if they are trans women and they are more comfortable and safe to be in these women's prisons, I think that's fine. Now, the problem that we have, which has been brought up, and I think Dooby is correct in this case, though somewhat misguided on his view of it, is that the bigger issue here is the rape problem. I think that people in the prison system that are more susceptible to commit rape should be separated from the population altogether. I think those people should be pulled and isolated, because you know what? They're going to be causing more safety concerns than any trans person in the prisons themselves. I think that that's like just obvious. So I think
agree with
that. Yeah,
Wait.
so I think that we can.
Can I?
It's
I
your
just
turn.
want to back up
Counter,
Biggs.
it's your
Can I
turn.
back up
It's your
Biggs?
turn anyway.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
awesome.
Everyone in prison
So-
rapes.
Okay, so this is where I want to back up Biggs, because I feel like that was the most wholesome shit that anybody said over the past 45 minutes, and I want to continue the wholesome train, okay? I would like to hear any counter arguments to this perspective that we could make 3 categories as far as like housing, one for men, one for women, one for high risk. Now, obviously, like high risk is probably going to be the preferred category that everybody wants to get to, but it's actually going to be on a case-by-case evaluative basis, and basically that categorization is going to be necessary based off of like if you were trans, or if you were a feminine man or a masculine woman and you were getting attacked and shit on because of immutable characteristics or whatever, then you could basically be selected for this high risk category and housed separately. And then on top of that, part of that categorization is the fact that you have to be reciprocal. So that's the first half of it. The second half of it is basically 3 tiers. One for violent offenders, and as we were just mentioning, people who are going to rape, who need to be segregated from the population in the first place. The second would be people doing time, people who just want to do time. They're not interested in rehabilitation. They literally just want to wake up, 3 hots in a cot, and they just want to do their time and get the fuck out. And then voluntary rehabilitation. Basically a higher tier program that's lower security, that actually has like educational opportunities and like perks and benefits and fucking better commissary and like all that kind of shit to incentivize people to be like, hey, I've already been in prison like 2 times now. I don't want to be back in this motherfucker. I want to jump in the rehabilitated program and get my shit together.
Let's go to
would-
Sig. Let's go. Yeah, we got a list. We have a limited amount of time. We got to go to Sig. We're gonna go to Mike. We're gonna go to GSU, Fowler, and Sprout.
Counterpoints. I completely. I don't know if I agree with the exact system you set up and everything like that, because I would have to see it play out. But like we were talking about complete and utter prison reform, like 100%, of course, prison reform. Like I think everyone here is agreed our prisons are fucked up right now. They need complete reform from the top down. Okay. But the system that you're putting up and everything. Interesting. In your system, would you still allow trans men in the men's section and trans women in the women's section, provided they weren't proven to be high risk individuals?
Yeah, I think that would actually be like it would be the stated preference of the prisoner, also like an evaluation of risk, and like basically those variables could be evaluated by corrections administrators to 1, reduce the risk of injury or death to the prisoner, and then 2, take prisoner preference into consideration as far as what they want to do. And then by basically having it broken up into those 3 categorizations, and then the 3 violent people doing time, whatever, you can further segregate. So let's say that there was like a major concern, like, hey, this guy's going to therapy. And he's saying that he is now a woman. So they are going through a transition. They want to be referred to as she, her, blah, blah, blah. They go on hormones and all that kind of stuff. But this person is just violent. Like they've just been violent in the past, all that kind of stuff. You can still segregate them within that other 3 tier of violent, serving time, and rehabilitation based off of their behavior, and further incentivize them to go through those 3 categories as well.
I think this is a fine take. Okay. It's good. It's inclusive. That's what matters, right? Inclusive, and that's overall what my central goal here is inclusive, protecting people.
Yeah, I think I generally agree with what Connor said too. But I'm curious if Spraticus, if you're classifying all like prisoner sex as rape, and I think you said this is how it's seen right now. But you seem to agree with that, right? if you think all these people that are having even consensual sex in prison are necessarily like raping each other, would you be in support of chemically castrating prisoners temporarily while they're in prison to lessen the likelihood of that happening?
No, I would not be in support of chemically castrating prisoners.
But this is reversible, right? It's a reversible procedure. So while they're in prison, the chemical
It's hypothetically reversible. It's not reversible for each individual.
No, it's definitely reversible.
Oh, so what chemical castration is reversible? Please inform me.
I mean, there are injections people take. There are pills they can take that will lessen the likelihood. First off, it lowers the libido. If they're going to get an erection, it makes it their erections less strong. Makes them less long.
Just give them all anti-Viagra, right?
Much harder to have sex. Yeah, exactly. It's basically anti-Viagra.
Because they can get drugs in prison, they're not going to be able to get Viagra. Okay, I mean, next, no, I'm not in favor of chemically castrating people.
Okay, so you just want all these people to be raping each other. So.
No, I don't want all these people to be raping each other, but chemical castration would not be the answer for that.
Hold on, but hold on.
What's the answer?
If the personal responsibility.
Yeah, if the threat is rape, if the problem is rape, right? And that's the thing you've been hanging your hat on in terms of moving prisoners, right? Then we have an answer to that, right? Like if it really is sexual assault, then we would have an answer to decrease that. If that's the thing.
Yeah, we're just gonna chemically castrate you because we're not sure if you commit a crime or not.
Exactly.
So before you even commit a crime, we're gonna chemically castrate you just to be safe.
So before we even commit a crime, we're going to assume you're going to commit a crime if we take you to a woman's prison. Is what you've been doing.
Yeah, that's what you've been doing this entire time.
No, it's not what I've been doing. What I've been saying is I don't think that trans women belong in women prisons. I don't think trans men belong in men's prisons.
Why?
I'm sorry, I just don't think
Why?
because they were biologically born that way. And I think if you're biologically a male, then you end up in a male prison. If you're biologically a female, you end up in a female prison.
Can I just ask Sprout? He asked me some questions before. I just want to ask Sprout.
No.
So do you think that?
Hold on. No. Why? No, why?
Why?
Yeah, straight answer. The straight question.
Because you already answered this
biological males.
Wait, Dooby, can you let him answer?
I'm gonna answer the straight question. I'm gonna answer the straight question. Do you think that biological males, whether or not they identify as trans women, are more likely to rape biological women in prison?
That is such a disingenuous question. It's not what Prime asked me.
That's what I just asked.
So I don't give a shit, Dooby. Prime's the one who's asking me a question. You interrupted Prime. I'm gonna answer Prime's question. Prime. It's because I believe that there are biological differences, whether or not you want to say you're a female or male, there are biological differences between a biological male and a biological female. Okay. Therefore, the biological male should end up in biological male prison, and the biological female should end up in biological female prison.
What are these differences that we're worried about?
Well, first off, biological males tend to be stronger on average.
What would they use that for? What would they use that strength for?
They could do that. Many different things. They can shank people. They can do many different things.
You can't get shanked by a woman. A woman can't stab you. A woman can't stab you.
I mean, a woman can, but imagine a man pushing through women to shank somebody. It'd be a lot easier for a man to do that than a woman.
On.
What do you?
No, what I'm saying is
wait, what if a trans person has gone through the like SRS? They've taken all the hormones for years. They've totally transitioned, right? Do you still think that because they were biologically a male, should go to a male prison?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
Can I?
All right. Hold on. We got fuck. Yeah. Go ahead. So Mike, go ahead. Mike is next, please.
Yeah. Counterpoints. Do you know? I remember you saying once you have a friend who is a CO or something like that. I'm curious. I think it's 1/4 of the prison population is people with developmental disabilities. And I would hope if we're doing a situation where we have 3 sections of like vulnerable people, those would be people who would be put in that area too. People with like autism or some kind of intellectual disability. I don't know if somebody else that would be like, if you're wheelchair bound, if that would be another thing too.
Yeah, no, this is actually a great question. I'm happy you asked it because I didn't consider it. But I think that that should be like a subcategory in all three groups. So talking about physically or mentally or emotionally disabled people, you could further, so you could basically put them in the high risk category because they're high risk, right? High risk of being victimized, all that kind of stuff. And then you could still divide up into, basically violent, rehabilitative, and whatever. But then I think that specifically for like the high risk group, this is actually a really interesting consideration that would have to be administered individually or specifically, is that you would probably need more mental health and medical resources for the high risk pool in general, and then the high risk violent group specifically, because obviously with like medication and other variables, you could probably actually help people who have something going on that's not manageable from like a personal moral standpoint or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like when you were mentioning that was one of the first things that came up to me. It was thinking of people who are disabled, because I know there's a lot of the prison population is also, I think they label some prisons as like mental health hospitals or something like that too, like because the amount of people who have some form of mental health disability is pretty high up there.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
No, that's about it.
No, actually, like this is kind of the thing. This is why I don't like pure right-wing free market bullshit. Is because during the 1980s we basically ended public hospitals. One, because they were ripe with abuse, but two, because we didn't want to fund them anymore. As a result, prisons have now become the new mental health hospital for people who basically can't afford to get treatment. As a result, I actually had a friend very specifically who worked in the mental health ward of a prison. And basically what it is they literally just lock up people who have schizophrenia, keep them in a cage all day, and then basically just check on them every 15 minutes to make sure that they didn't kill themselves. And that's all they do. Obviously, that's not helping almost anybody. And knowing that that's where the system is right now, where we're talking about, obviously, like rape is a pandemic, is an epidemic in the prison system. And then on top of that, we're literally just locking up insane people and then keeping them in cells and making sure they don't kill themselves. And that's how we're treating them or rehabilitating them or correcting them. I think it's disgusting. And we need to do something about it.
Okay, let's move on to GSU if he's still there. Not sure if he is. If not, then we're going to go to Falinor, Sprout, and Sig.
All right, I'll go ahead and jump on since it looks like GSCU is temporarily unavailable. Fundamentally, I like Counterpoints' idea. I think there should be a fourth category expressly for sex offenders. My biggest concern in prisons is sex offenders and violent criminals. I like the tiered system. I think there should be 4 tiers: low, medium, high, and extremely high risk. That way it doesn't impede on people's rights. So like, say for instance, there's a cisgender male at a male prison that's a historic repeat sex offender, multiple rape charges, sexual assault charges, assault and batteries. So that your stereotypical like break in the door, push a woman up against the wall or floor, rape her, serial rapist. They still have the ability to transition, but then they will be obviously transferred into the new the new prison system, the female prison system, as an extremely high risk sex offender. So they're isolated to a very particular area of the prison with a very particular access level and intercommunal access levels, with obviously some type of uniform that clearly identifies them as extremely high risk sex offender. That way, they're not a risk to the female prisoners. That kind of system I'm far more for. That way it's fully inclusive and it doesn't denigrate anyone's rights as a trans person or as a prisoner. And it also doesn't put prisoners in unnecessary danger for people like, for instance, those that declare themselves to be transgender for the purpose of being transferred to a female prison so that they would have access to more potential victims. I like that idea. I think it's fair to everybody. It's more reasonable, and I think it would also help to dramatically reduce the likelihood of rapes in prisons, and could even potentially also solve prison violence in a way.
Let's go to GSU, then Sprout, and Sig.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not muted. Okay. Yeah, so I was gonna ask, it seems like Connor and maybe somebody else was saying earlier that we create these three buckets in things, and I don't know how we come up with these categories, given that the vast amount of rape in prisons, male or female, are unreported, or like there's lots of influence such that those individuals that become victims would never report it because of the things that can happen to them if they do. So I conceptually agree with you, but I think when we look at what's happening in prisons across the US, I don't know if it's implementable. Like the rape culture in jail is the rape culture in jail, and I don't know if there's a way to create this system where you can separate out the individuals that are quote unquote high risk, because just because somebody doesn't come into jail with a sexual assault crime or sexual harassment crime or whatever doesn't mean they're not going to be a sexual harasser in jail. And we see this a lot with gang culture and everything else in jail.
Yeah, if I could address this, since this is my idea, I do understand that this would increase administrative costs, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to have a holistic conversation. So, for instance, like I think the number one thing that should be done in reference to law enforcement reform is marijuana should be decriminalized or legalized recreationally. If it's legalized recreationally, it should be taxed like a motherfucker. Obviously still affordable, but still taxed, and that tax revenue should go to education. And then also law enforcement, because literally we're putting less people in prison for bullshit reasons, right? So what we could do with that increased revenue is fund additional administration. The same way that you have like a service record book when you're in the military, or you have a disciplinary record book when you're like a student at a college or a student at a school. Then you would just have to add that additional administrative ability to evaluate people for categories. I understand this would change bunking, like all that kind of stuff. But basically what I would hope, this would be my sincere hope, is that if we adopted the Portuguese model for the drug war, we reduced the amount of people that we were incarcerating for the drug war. We could increase the sentences for burglars, rapists, murderers, all that kind of stuff. That way they stay in jail for longer for actual very serious crimes. And then with that increase in funding, we would also be able to administer it better under the categories that I came up with previously. That would be my hope.
Fundamentally, I disagree with that counterpoints, and it's not on the basis of you having a bad idea. It's on the basis that I don't think that prisons should be for-profit systems. I think they should be based on actually restructuring society and making them better. I think that if you look at the numbers and look at it from a pure metrics perspective, if we actually rehabilitated the number of people that we have in prisons, especially for low to medium tier offenses, the amount of capital that they would contribute to the economy alone, just based on sheer tax dollars, would overwhelmingly just pay for pretty much 100% prison reform. I fundamentally don't believe that something as important as our prison system should ever be a for-profit institution. I don't think that people at their fundamental level of a foundation of what a human being is should be capitalized on.
Yeah, I just got to.
True.
You got to hurry up because we have a limited amount of time. We got people got to go, so hurry up.
Very quickly. I agree. I just have to sell my ideas to fiscal conservatives.
Wow, and sake.
So general question, I guess. And just by show of hands, like Dooby can do a show of hands too. So who would be for mixing just men and women prisons in totality? There's no men prisons, there's no women prisons, there's just prisons.
I think some countries actually do that.
I mean, I just find it really interesting that no one's raising their hand.
No, we can do it.
Some people...
I'll do it. No, I'll do it.
Actually, no. I'm actually thinking. I was thinking about this, and I was like, no, yeah. Probably with some caveats. Yeah, but generally, yeah.
How the fuck is everybody not pregnant the next day?
Yeah, that's
what is this?
No, let's do it.
We can have it
let's
by like
murder.
Okay,
why, Prime? Why?
What are we trying?
Can I beg you for something?
No, oh my God.
Can we continue this on the open? That's all I'm asking.
Sure. Anyway, hold on.
Shit show on the open.
So, like, what are you trying to protect people from, right? Like, so if we're talking about the system, like a similar system, as to what Counterpoints is talking about in terms of threat, right? You could, right, in terms of like the same prison, you could house them within the same building, but like in different parts, right? And then you can have different prisons for different threat levels, right? I actually like what Counterpoints is talking about. This is why I added that last part to the question, asking for a third solution. So I'm glad he come up with something that sounds workable. Yeah, you could.
Well, I would say that it's totally feasible because we have multiple cell block units in most prison systems currently. They're quadranted out.
Already.
You could have A and B for male and C and D for female, for instance.
Well, no,
So
I'm talking about completely intermixing, completely
No.
intermixed. It doesn't matter who's in what cell.
I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, because I think that would be problematic, but not for the reasons why I think putting transgender people would be problematic.
See, I think that's the fundamental disagreement on which we're gonna disagree. Is that you see putting males and females in the same general area in a prison is gonna be problematic, but you don't see that same problem existing when you put biological males and females
so
in the opposite jail.
Yeah, okay, great. So again, so you can stop dodging it. What are these problems?
Why would and
These problems for the transgender?
I asked you this question
the
prior.
Transgender women. Like you keep doing this, right? I'm trying to get to these problems that actually matter. So like you said strength, right? Okay, well, one, if they're on HRT, they may not actually have a strength advantage. But two, even if that person does have a strength advantage, that doesn't mean they're the person within that prison population has the biggest strength advantage. So there could be a woman, all right, and they spend a lot of time fucking working out, right, who is stronger than that individual male. Should that woman, right, the strongest woman, it might be the strongest inmate within that prison, should that woman be sent to a male prison? I'm guessing the answer is no. So then we can move that aside, then the strength is the only thing. Then what else do we have to worry about?
The possibility of rape, it goes up.
There we go. No.
Does it go up?
This is exactly the point I'm saying. So you're saying that trans men and women, or women at least, will have an increased likelihood of rape. I'm saying no, that's not the case. You hang your hat on biological male, right? So basically invalidating the femininity, right? The womanness of trans women, right? I'm saying that trans women, no, I don't have an increase. They're more likely to be victimized.
Then I'm going to pose the same question to you. Why wouldn't you just mix males and females and within general population? Why wouldn't you just mix? If you don't see any issues with this, then why wouldn't you just mix them all together?
So hold on.
What would be the issue with that?
I also said hello. I also said yes to the question, but like,
well, Prime's trying to grill me with, and I would like him to answer the same question with what he didn't see as a good idea.
So even if so the other problems with this is yes, people increase chance of consensual sex, right? Moving
still
that
rape.
Hold on. That's legally. That's legally. Now I'm talking about consensual sex within prison. That's a thing. Legally, it may be classified as rape, and that could be for good reasons. But like that's the big problem, right? We just can't have prison babies popping up all the time, right? But this program, moving this number of people, right, for their own safety, the risk of that is worth it. Rather than having these people victimized, an increase of victimization within the male prison system, that I say that even if there are prison babies, right, that are a result of this, not that doesn't happen already because there's sex between inmates and prison guards, right? But whatever, that I think that is okay.
So one quick question I just want to ask Prime, because I was curious about this. But are you okay with the idea of prison? And just I guess this actually would go to the whole panel, but I'm more interested in your answer, Prime. Are you okay with prisoners having sex, assuming it's consensual? Are you okay with that ideology?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. If there was actually consensual, then that's not a problem. The problem is prison babies. That's literally the problem. Like if
definitely some,
yeah, if
there's definitely some
if those men and women could have sex and we could guarantee no prison babies, I'd actually be
contraceptives.
Yeah. I mean, but no guarantee. Like we can't. They're going to use the. I don't use the contraceptives? Like, I don't know. You can't guarantee that.
Some
That's
issues.
A problem. That's
If there were
problematic.
some issues, because you opened up to the whole panel here with the question, I'm just going to say that, like, yeah, there's definitely, I feel like there definitely can be some power issues in regards to like prisoners like having sexual relationships and stuff. Like, I don't know that's possible. That's possible, and I can understand the arguments. I have not thought about it very much. Okay,
I don't
They
think
rape people at alarming rates. Now, what do you mean it's possible?
No,
I don't think
no,
prisoners.
no,
I
no,
don't
no,
think
we're talking about
prisoners have the right to have
he asked
sex.
about consensual sex. That was the question.
Yeah, we're talking about
Yeah,
consensual
but
sex. I said
no,
there
it's-
could be some issues with that. What the fuck? Okay. I said that there might be some issues with that, and I'd be receptive to some arguments in regards to talking about prisoners with consensual sex and all that stuff. But like, generally, yeah, it'd be for it. Yeah.
I think Chad actually brought up also another really good point here for a change. But someone brought up conjugal visits. But also, what about the consideration to sex workers? I mean, have we ever even considered this as a country, much less a global systemic problem of allowing sex work to occur in prison systems where it's a conjugal visit with a sex worker? I mean, if you can just, pay for the sex versus raping someone.
Oh, you're
or
saying
have-
that we unleash rapists on sex workers? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just saying, like, just in general here, because someone in chat brought up conjugal visits, and they said in several countries conjugal visits are actually normal, and that used to be the case here in America. But if we brought back the concept of conjugal visits, we'll say for at least for low and medium risk prisons, and we eliminated that, I guess we can all agree is human nature and a biological need for sex. And instead transferred that, instead of aggression towards other prisoners, they had consensual sex with certified partners.
But rape is not simply about a biological need, right?
Yeah,
it's about.
I'm not
He's
saying
talking about letting prostitutes into the prison or jail.
No, I get that. No, I get that. No, but like the rape isn't just about I have a need, and so this is what I'm gonna. This is about dominance, right? This is about like victimizing others, right? Like, do you not understand that rape is more than sex?
I don't think it's that.
Of course,
yeah,
it
but
is.
you're saying every rape that
I don't think it's that simple in prison, though.
Hold on, I'm saying I'm not saying it's simple. I'm saying it's very complex. I'm saying prison rape. So if it was simply just like releasing a valve, then maybe this is something to be considered. But it's more than that.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Got you. We're on the same page.
All right, Sig.
Yeah. Gosh, people. I wanted to ask Sprouticus a question here. So, like, you know who Blair White is?
Yes, I know who Blair White is.
Let's say Blair White commits like a crime or something. She's got to do a little time, a little hard time. You really think that she should be in a male prison?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Wait, so you're not concerned that she might be very likely to be raped if your concern is rape?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there should be special considerations given the just like there was with Jeffrey Epstein when he went to jail. There are special considerations given the external circumstances. But yes, I think that Blair White would still belong in a male prison. Yes.
Yeah, it worked out great for old
So
Jeffrey.
like Sprouticus, I just want to say, so like, it doesn't seem like your concern is reducing rape. It doesn't seem.
It is okay.
It doesn't seem like that's your central concern.
Okay, but my underneath my eyes, rape would go up if you had biological males and with biological females and just mix them all in between. Rape would go up.
So you think?
Hold on. Just let me finish. So, in your view, do you believe that if you put people like Blair White or even like, I don't know, ContraPoints or somebody, in a male prison, do you think the chances of them being raped would go up, or the rape percentage in the male prison would increase? Do you believe that, or no?
I don't think the rape percentage in and of itself would increase putting Blair White in prison, but I would also no, stop. Can you let me finish? I mean, I've noticed you like to interrupt a lot during this panel. But so
only when I hear bullshit.
Sprout, go ahead, Sprout.
I didn't even get to finish. So, when Blair White is in jail, I would argue that she would need special considerations given the external circumstances of Blair White. Just like we do with other prisoners, the external circumstances are weird, and it's not typical circumstances you have with someone coming into jail. They're given special consideration, and I think it should be given that special consideration. And yes, I think that they should go into a male prison. And no, I don't think the rape percentage would go up.
Well, what would the special consideration entail? Like, do they get put into like their own cell apart from all the other prisoners.
There
so
is
they-
yes, there is a protective part of the jail where you can put in basically protective custody and go to a different part of the jail where you're more protected than general population. Yes.
Oh man, almost as if you segregated along 3 different categories and then segregated again along 3 different other categories. You could avoid a significant amount of the problems.
I
Weird.
would still disagree with yours, putting males and females in the, especially the violent ones together in the same jail in between male and female jails. I would still disagree with that idea.
No,
I think
it would still be segregated. It would still be segregated 3 ways.
Yeah.
So
So I think that the core disagreement with Spartacus isn't so much the rape thing or the physical power imbalance or whatever. Yeah, I think it's just that you don't think trans women are women, right? And if that's the case,
Dooby,
that's
I
the
mean,
case.
you can label it whatever you want.
It seems pretty clear that that's what it is.
He doesn't deny it.
You can label it whatever you want. I mean, this is how I think that going this way, you're going to see a huge. You're going to see maybe not huge, but you're going to see an issue come up in jails and at a bigger percentage than what you've seen it before.
Yeah, this is what COVID brain fuck does. It does for a guy.
Okay.
This is why you should get vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah. So keep them coming, Doobie.
I will.
Okay. All right. Well,
I intend to.